Let us know. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate your help, buddy. Mr. Mayor?
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome. Today is Tuesday, October 31st, 2023, and we're welcoming you to the opening of a joint meeting between the Manatee County Board of County Commissioners and the Town of Longboat Key Commission. It is an absolutely beautiful day today in Manatee County, and we're going to open this meeting in our typical fashion. We're going to open up by honoring God and by honoring this great nation. So today, we have an invocation that will be led by Joan Irwin of Bahia Faith of Manatee County, and after the prayer will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by County Commissioner and Marine Combat Veteran Jason Bearden. So at this time, if you're able, please rise.
This is a prayer for America. O thou kind Lord, this gathering is turning to thee. These hearts are radiant with thy love. These minds and spirits are exhilarated by the message of thy glad tidings. O God, let this American democracy become glorious in spiritual degrees, even as it has aspired to material degrees, and render this just government victorious. Confirm this revered nation to upraise the standard of the oneness of humanity, to promulgate the most great peace, to become thereby most glorious and praiseworthy among all the nations of the world. O God, this American nation is worthy of thy favors and is deserving of thy mercy. Make it precious and near to thee through thy bounty and bestowal. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Joan. That was a beautiful prayer. And Commissioner Bearden, you knew all the words. Thank you as well, sir. We're going to start off going a little bit out of order today, but I'll tell you what, why don't we first go around the room, do introductions, and then we're going to start with public safety, only because our public safety folks all have kids, and they're worried that if they were last, they wouldn't make it home in time for trick-or-treating. So important, business decisions being made here. But why don't we go around the room with introductions, and Mrs. DePaul, we can start with you.
Good afternoon, all. Courtney DePaul, Deputy County Administrator at Manatee County.
Good afternoon, all. Brian Parnell, also Deputy County Administrator for Manatee County.
Good afternoon. This is James Satcher, Manatee County Commissioner, District 1.
Good afternoon. My name is Debbie Murphy, and I am Longboat Key Commissioner, District 5, which is the northern end of Longboat Key.
Good afternoon. Amanda Ballard, Manatee County Commissioner for District 2.
Sorry, I should have done instructions first, yes. There's a button on the mic.
BJ Bishop, at-large Commissioner, Longboat Key.
George Cruz, Manatee County Commission, at-large, District 7.
Mike Haycock, at-large Commissioner, Longboat Key.
Hi, Penny Gold, Commissioner from District 2.
County Attorney Bill Clegg.
Kevin Van Ostenbridge, County Commission, District 3, which includes all of Longboat Key. Sir?
Ken Schneier, Mayor of Longboat Key and District 3 Commissioner.
Mike Ron, Manatee County Commissioner, District 4.
Ray Turner, Manatee Commissioner, District 5.
Gary Coffin, District 1. Oh, you have to turn it on, Gary. Oh, sorry. It says red. You want green? Green means go.
But that. Gary Coffin, Commissioner, Longboat Key, District 1.
Jason Beard, Manatee County Commissioner at Large.
Howard Tipton, Town Manager.
Charlie Bishop, County Administrator.
Andy Butterfield, Chief of Staff for the county government.
All right, there'll be a test later on all of that. Well, then let's jump right into public safety, which is item number 6 on our agenda. And we'll bring up Jody Fisk, who is the Director of Public Safety, to present.
Had to press my button. I even listened to your instructions. Jody Fisk, I'm the Director of Public Safety for Manatee County, and thank you all for letting me go first. My children were threatening to come up here and show off their costumes and demand candy from everybody. So just recently we had a meeting with members from Longboat Key discussing a couple of things. One was an after action for Hurricane Idalia and ways that we can work together more at the response and recovery level. We discussed a couple of training and outreach opportunities, which I'll cover today, and we talked about high water rescue vehicles. I have been searching for the possibility for grant funding for some of the high water rescue vehicles, and those are pretty specific to the agencies that will actually be housing them, maintaining them, using them. The RDSTF, which is the Regional Domestic Security Task Force with FDLE, you can apply for funding through that process, but you are competing with the other agencies. It is a pretty lengthy process, and the funding is not usually as large as you would like it to be. Typically, most places that do house the specific high water rescue vehicles are getting them from either National Guard surplus, they have partnerships with forestry, so maybe a forestry has a high water rescue vehicle that they're going to demobilize and purchase a new one. And in speaking with the FDEM response coordinator, one of the things that he also mentioned were that there's a lot of areas and a lot of districts that use brush trucks, and those can be used for high water rescue. However, there's not usually a lot of space to put a lot of people in them that you would see in some of the specific vehicles for that. So there are options, but one of the things that came out of our after action with Idalia was specific to events and where to stage the events and how, or the resources and how to use them. So kind of rolling into the Idalia after action, one of the big changes that we are making at the EOC for our next activation will be inviting an in-person representative from Longboat Key and all the other municipalities to actually come into the EOC in Manatee County to act as the liaison for the city, be involved in the operations and plannings meetings, be part of the discussions that are happening in the county EOC, so that information can be immediately relayed back to Longboat Key during an event and for the duration. So part of that will include the staging of the resources for high water rescue should that asset be needed during an impact. And obviously, everything is always dependent upon the impact. I would remind everybody we're not out of hurricane season yet. If you take a look at the tropics maps, those little X's keep popping up. So these are changes that are taking effect immediately for us at the EOC. We discussed reentry, and we obviously know for our island communities that's very different than it is for the county at large. And we have shared our comprehensive emergency management plan with Chief Desi in Longboat Key. He is going to be sharing with us the municipalities, their reentry plan, so that we have that, so that we're not trying to spark that conversation during the response phase where we're looking to go into recovery. And we are going to be sharing a couple of other plans from other areas that have the same types of reentry. What's the timing? What are the triggers to pull? When are you going to allow folks to do that? What is the criteria to come back into the jurisdiction? And who is going to control that reentry? And so we're very lucky. We have a really, really good relationship with Chief Desi. So I don't anticipate any issues moving forward with that. Power restoration was mentioned also. If we look at us as for general purposes, reentry, general population, if you don't have power in your home, you can still go home. But if you live in a 5 or 6 story high rise and you don't have power, if you can crawl all those stairs, great. But if you don't want to do that over and over until the power is restored, that is something that we discussed. The power companies obviously are with us in the county EOC. They provide real-time updates of how far along they are in the power, what is the estimated time of restoration, and we will be sharing that information. And Rich Collins with the Sarasota County EOC, they have that same asset in their EOC as well. We've made some changes to the EOC battle rhythm. So if everyone recalls, during Idalia, we start with the state 11:15 call, then we have national weather. Sometimes we have 2 state calls a day. We are going to start sending out invites for that MAC group call or briefing packet as soon as we get the invite for the 11:15. So we are pushing out the 11:15 state info immediately to all of our partners. Everyone's getting the same information at the same time, and we're all on the same page as far as what is the timeline. The biggest thing I think that was asked in all of the meetings I've had so far is, what is our timeline? What are we looking at when we're making decisions? Storm surge has become a really big topic of conversation since Hurricane Ian. Idalia was unique because the storm surge came later. When we are looking at decisions for evacuations, opening shelters, any kind of protective actions, we are looking at that graphic that is the earliest possible arrival of the tropical storm force winds. So it is not the arrival of the surge, it's the winds that we are looking at, because the winds determine what vehicles and personnel we can have on the road and for how long. So that is one of the graphics that I would definitely make sure to look for in any briefing packet, because that's driving a lot of our decisions at the EOC. Our FDEM Regional Recovery Coordinator is offering multiple different trainings. He has offered to do them at the cities. He has offered to do them at the county. And those trainings will include damage assessments, so determining the difference between major, minor, affected, destroyed. The FROC trainings, so for, I don't know if anybody outside of the county utilized the Florida recovery forms. Those are replacing like the ICS 214s that nobody likes to fill out, but everyone has to fill out. So they have the FROC trainings. And then there's also the FEMA recovery training. So we're really fortunate that our recovery coordinator is a certified state instructor, so he is able to actually come and teach those trainings to us, and it is no cost to any jurisdiction that wants the trainings. It is simply a matter of calling him up and saying, hey, we need this training to come to our area. This is how many people we have, and he has offered to do that for us. The FIT teams, our first in teams, Chief Desi has been added to all of those distribution lists, and he will be part of the meetings, the exercises, and providing input as far as routes and areas where there may be concerns that it's, what's the timing that we're getting to this, so that all of that information can be shared. And we are, of course, going to continue to work with Rich Collins and his team at the Sarasota EOC. So that was really all I had. Does anybody have any questions for me? Easy. Yes, ma'am.
Literally no questions. Oh, okay. There we go. BJ.
Thank you. Just in your conversation about Adalia, while you talked about storm surge being after the fact, the reality on the island was king tide flooded our streets well before the storm. So we had communities that were already closed off before, in some regards, before the evacuation orders were out. So I think one of the issues that we're going to have to deal with is the reality that these storms are coming faster, harder, and with the other issue of king tide, we better be sure we're getting people out sooner, not later.
Okay. And that was on the Manatee side, not the Sarasota side?
It was on the entire island.
It was on the entire island? Okay.
Although you probably have more lower lying areas on the north end, I think, than the south end, don't you?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, good. Okay. Commissioner Haycock.
You know, I guess it's been maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we looked at issues associated with being in 2 counties and started to knock off ones that we thought we could simplify by dealing 1 county versus 2 counties on specific issues. And one of those was when we had a hurricane, the complexity of dealing with 2 counties. And I thought we had agreement a couple years ago that the primary direction during the hurricane was going to come from Sarasota County EOC. And it sounds like you're kind of going back to us having to communicate, supply people, and so on to 2 counties rather than 1 county in the case of a hurricane. So did you all discuss that at all, or?
Yeah, Mr. Vice Chair, if I could, the conversation was actually a very good conversation. And one of the things that we noted is even though we are dealing primarily with Sarasota County, so much of the interaction also includes the county to our north. And so we needed to have a greater presence with Manatee and to have a better line of communication. You think about our water source as an example, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And so we're not deviating from that, but we are recognizing the need to have a much better presence and direct line of communication with Manatee County EOC.
Okay, I would just encourage us to continue to look for ways to simplify when we have to deal with both counties, especially in a crisis situation like this.
Sure, understood. Thank you.
Another change that has actually occurred this year is the Florida Division of Emergency Management redid their regions. So for the first time in a while, Manatee and Sarasota are no longer in the same region for state emergency management. So as they are driving a lot of their decisions and they are looking at a lot of their declarations, the state does tend to look region-wide at the impacts. So that is something that could potentially impact us as far as, you know, when do you want to declare a state of emergency? If Region 6, we are still part of Region 6, but we are now the southernmost county, and it goes north now. So, you know, Manatee, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Citrus, Hernando County, that's now our region for FDEM. So as they're looking at impacts, the state will go through and ask region-wide what they need. So that doesn't impact the level of communication that we have with Sarasota. It just impacts us as far as what the state is looking at and where they're putting a lot of their assets as we move forward with storm activations.
Which then raises the other issue of storms are coming faster, harder. If you all in your region don't think that storm is a direct hit, Sarasota County is. We had great confusion with Adalia in terms of evacuation notices, time, etc. Being in 2 different districts is a nightmare for Longboat Key.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to be, I think, a big driving force behind doing our MAC group meetings earlier and including Rich Collins and his team on those meetings so that we are having those conversations. Being in the different regions, we are still going to look to our partners directly to the north and south of us and see what is everybody doing. And we discussed this in the meeting as well. You know, Hillsborough being directly north of us, their decision timelines have always tended to be a little bit sooner than most of the region, or they're either later than most of the rest of the region. So we, I think, will still have to maintain that close communication between Manatee and Sarasota. And when it comes to resources, we will still need to be making sure that we are talking to each other as far as who is getting what, so we're not duplicating efforts between the two of us when we could stage things close enough where we could hit an area like Northport and then moving up into that UTC area, and we can focus other resources elsewhere. So as far as declarations go, we have to pay attention to the region we're in, but as far as impacts go, we're still going to work very closely with the Sarasota EOC.
And Jody does work incredibly closely with Rich Collins. They talk on a regular basis. We saw that throughout Adalia, and then when she was our coordinator during Ian. And then I would also add that there may be, and I know that obviously the communication could be an issue. I don't feel like that is based on the relationship, but it also could be a good thing where you're getting the best information from both counties, from both regions. So if it's going to hit, it's coming on the north side or on the south side, I think you'll be covered. So that is one of those benefits of us coordinating with Sarasota so closely.
Yeah, and I would just say I'm glad you brought it up, because I think that, staff and Jody needed to hear that, sort of why we have the meetings. But I would just relay that we hear you loud and clear. Commissioner Turner.
Yeah, I was just going to say, a hurricane is a gigantic system, so we're splitting hairs on that a little bit. If it's coming our way, sometimes these storms are as big as the state, so we're all in it together.
Yeah. And our weather service has not changed. So we are still getting the same weather briefing from the Tampa Ruskin Weather Service. So that, in that regard, we are all still getting the same information from that source. That is also the reason for when the state begins the 11:15 calls, we've extended the invite for someone from the cities to come and listen to that call, because the National Hurricane Center briefs on the state call. They do not brief on the National Weather Service call.
All right. Any further questions? Public safety.
I hope this sells you enough that all Longboat Key could come into Manatee County, and we would have.
That sounds like a good solution.
Jason, you want me to have that conversation with you again at this meeting? We did that a few years ago.
All right. I tell you what, why don't we then sort of just somewhat stay on subject? Why don't we jump to item number 4 and bring Public Works up, and we will talk about the water turnoff policy. So we'll bring Public Works forward. This is referring to hurricanes, not if they're behind in the bill or anything like that.
Just a quick intro, faces of change. So Evan Pilichowski, our old utilities director, was promoted to deputy county administrator. And so joining us today is Jim Runenberg, who was in Public Works, but he's now serving as the interim director of utilities. So thanks, Jim.
Yep, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, and Commissioners. As Courtney mentioned, my name is Jim Runenberg. I'm the Interim Utility Director and also the Chief Utility Engineer with Manatee County. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you for the standard operating procedures for turning off water to the island communities during an emergency. So our system, our utility system, is vulnerable on the island due to the low level of the island, as well as the number of feeds we have to the island. If there isn't a storm that comes through, there could be issues, and there could be situations where we could be without water and wastewater for a period afterwards. So what we are trying to do is trying to develop a plan so that way we can minimize our risk, as well as keeping the rest of the system safe from potential water loss, as well as contamination if we do have a break during a storm event. So what this plan is, and what this procedure is to preemptively valving off the system prior to an event, prior to a storm, that helps protect the rest of the system. So this procedure was determined on when to turn off the system, and then how to communicate that to not only the communities, but then the residents involved as well. So we have a few different criteria that we have developed. So when we get to a storm, what we're going to do is, following Public Safety Director Fisk, we're going to be monitoring the earliest reasonable arrival times for these tropical storm winds. We're going to be using the best available information for that. And if the storm is reaching a Category 3, or if the storm surge is projected to be a 5 foot or higher, at 24 hours prior to that landfall, then we're likely going to make a decision whether or not to turn the water off for the island communities. If we do make that call and say at that 24-hour mark, we're going to go ahead and make this decision, then likely 10 hours prior to that event is when we'll actually have crews out there to turn the valves off for the potable water. We need that amount of time so that way we can make sure that and ensure that staff is able to do their job. They can turn the water off, but then they can also look at the wastewater system as well, making sure that that system is flushed out, and then they can get back on the road and get back to safety and shelter in place. So when that does occur, we have developed a communication process that first thing that we would do is notify the island communities. So we would reach out to the mayors, the chief of police, to share with them at the 24-hour mark what our intent is. We would issue a reverse 911 for the residents on the island community, and then we would work with our public information outreach folks to submit public notifications, such as press releases and social media blasts to inform the residents and the customers when we plan to turn off the water to the island. So once the storm passes and we are able to start the restoration process, we would have staff, likely some higher level superintendents or supervisors, go out onto the island and just do an inventory of what our situation is. Obviously, we're not going to know exactly what we're going to find. That's why we want some higher ranking staff out there to just identify what the issues may be and when we can have staff go back out there onto the island. We need to think about the flooding on the island, if there's down power lines, if it's safe for our staff to get back out there. So that's what they're going to be looking at. We're also going to develop a timetable on when we're going to start making repairs. Obviously, we're likely going to we'll have staff ready on call once the tropical storm winds subside to start those repairs. But then we're going to have to develop how long those repairs may need, and then we're going to have to balance that with the rest of the county as well. We're going to also before we turn the water back on, we'll have to look at and review the wastewater collection system. If the lift stations are down, if the wastewater system cannot flow properly, it may delay us on when we turn on the water, because obviously if we turn the water on and people start using their toilets and their showers, we may create some issues downstream for some folks. The communication is going to be similar to the turnoff notice. We're going to be working with the chief of police, the mayors, and the social media and using press releases as well. There likely need to be a precautionary boil water off or boil notice. That'll likely be a minimum of 48 hours. It may be a little longer depending upon the event. That is to protect the public, to make sure that the water is safe for consumption. So the standard operating procedure, that's pretty much the summary of the procedure itself. We are developing an interlocal agreement that we are working with the island communities on, not only Longboat Key, but the other 3 islands as well, or the other 3 cities as well. And we have been speaking to the communities as well. We shared this plan with them. We've received their feedback. It's still in draft form currently, but we're working through to formalize this and then develop this and continue to work forward and working with the island communities, making sure we have the best plan in place so that way when we have our next storm, we are more prepared and we are working together proactively. And Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
All right, well done. I have a quick question for you regarding reverse 911. Because Longboat Key is uniquely split between 2 separate counties, does a reverse 911 out of our system cover the entire key? No. Or is that a question for Mrs. Fisk?
Mr. Chair, I would have to review that a little bit more. I know that for our customers, it's based upon who has signed up for that, but unfortunately, I don't have that question specifically for Longboat Key.
I don't know that our reverse 911 even goes to Longboat Key because it's a municipality within.
It's actually our system. We're just a bulk water customer. So as soon as we get that feedback, we would be initiating the contact with our citizens. Yes, sir.
Okay, so your government will initiate the reverse 911?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the county, we actually use Everbridge. I apologize, Jody. So we don't do reverse 911, but we do something called Everbridge. Right. But yeah, they do their own thing.
Okay, that answers that. Any other questions? Commissioner Turner.
Does the turnoff policy coincide with an evacuation at all? Like, so if we've got a 5 foot, what's the trigger for evacuation? Is it 5 foot surge, or does anybody know? Does it coincide at all?
It does. There's a certain level of expected surge, and that's when they make the decision. The question is whether or not essentially lift stations are going to be submerged. That's the concern. And it looks like Mrs. Fisk is coming to the podium behind me now. I feel like I'm one of those football players who's running, watching the Megatron behind him, of the player coming up from behind. Mrs. Fisk.
So the surge amounts, it's the projected amounts that are coming from the Weather Center. So like during Idalia, when we were listening to them, it was 6 feet on top of king tide. So that's, as we're looking at the surge amounts, we never know exactly what the amount of the tide is going to be. But as soon as they're telling us they're set on a certain amount, that's what we're basing it on. So if they're saying 5 feet, if they're telling us, 3 to 6, that's going to be kind of that trigger point for that decision.
No, I understand that. I guess the question is, if we're turning off the water, has there been an evacuation already, or?
That would be the goal, yes. You try to wait as long as you can, because you have those folks that wait until the last minute and don't want to evacuate, and then maybe within that 12-hour mark change their mind. But in that time, they're still using the water and it's draining the supply. So the goal is that people have all evacuated, but the reality is that you just can't be sure if everybody has left or not.
All right. Any additional questions? Yes, ma'am.
Further to what this commissioner was just saying, one of the confusing things for the evacuation notice that we did receive on Idalia, and I live in the north end of Longboat Key, was that the water was still on. And so I think a lot of people were not seriously thinking about the evacuation, because the previous year when we had the storm where the water was turned off, that left people without really any means to really stay there. So I guess what you were asking, I have similar interest in, because I think turning the water off is a really important, sort of part of the evacuation notice, because otherwise people look at it and say, well, my water's still working, electricity's still on. So I back to, again, this coordination of what we're doing. I think the water thing is a very important part of the evacuation notice.
It does give that final nudge. But, we also want people to be able to stay on their property and continue to prep their property as long as they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. There's good and bad that go with it. It is a fine line. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I just want to add two things. One, thank you very much for the opportunity to comment on the draft policy. We do appreciate that, and we've had a great dialogue with your team. Secondly, just as a reminder, and to Commissioner Murphy's point, is the water is, of course, our primary fire suppression vehicle, and so we only have 3 tanks on the island. So once the water is off, that's all we have to draw down to protect all of the structures on the island. So it is a last resort. It is something you don't rush to do, only because of the fire protection side of it as well. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And then just real quickly, sort of on a public safety note, the county is looking at we have a warehouse space shortage, and we're looking at potentially acquiring a pretty large warehouse that would take care of our needs, some of the supervisor of elections, some of our constitutional officers' needs as well, and we would still have additional space. And so I know that an offer was extended to your town manager, asking if you all had any warehouse storage needs that we could help you accommodate for a small price, of course. But a vacant lot on Longboat Key is $1 million, right? So it seems like it makes a lot more sense for you all to, things that you're not needing at the ready, to store those in our facilities and in our spaces. And we even talked about some yard space in town that was in West Bradenton, so fairly close to the key access as well. So I'm sure staff will work that out amongst themselves, but I want to make sure everybody knew that the offer had been extended. So, all right. Thank you, sir. We'll move on. We'll go up to item number 1. How about that? Longboat Key updates on Greer Island, the dredging, Broadway Street and Gulf of Mexico Drive, which is the Roundabout project, and a force main, as well as town center update and the St. Regis Hotel and residences.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Isaac Brownman, who is our Public Works Director, will take the first few items.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Isaac Brownman with Town of Longboat Key Public Works, and I'll be happy to share information on these items as discussed. Yep, very good. So the first item is our Greer Island Sand Management and Canal 1A project that we just recently completed. Just want to hit some highlights here. The project was to dredge about 20,000 cubic yards of material that had migrated its way around what was Greer Island and then expanded to beyond the bridge on the east side. And to collect that material and place as much of it as possible back on the Gulf-facing front of Longboat Key where it came from. We went as far back as the DEP would allow us to go, and that project was completed recently and very successfully. We awarded a contract to Coastal Dredging. It was $1.1 million. The contract itself started in April and went through September. We would have been done a lot sooner, but some shorebirds and sea turtles decided otherwise to kind of land and nest in our area, so we had to wait till all that cleared. And the contractor was very patient. We were patient with the contractor, and it all worked out. So we were able to start that project essentially in August, finish it up in September, and it looks great. Really nice job. Some impacts from Idalia. Some signage actually has been installed since we last discussed with y'all's help, for the Manatee County staff help, and it's basically our rules signs on the area, and we've also reinstalled our no motorboats buoys. So all in all, a successful effort. It was a long time in coming, took a lot of permitting to be able to do this, but it's done. This first iteration. We now have a permit, at least with Army Corps, to be able to do this in cyclical basis if we see some more migration in the future of the sand. That's it for Greer Island. All right. Moving along to Broadway at Gulf of Mexico Drive Roundabout. The town's been looking at a roundabout solution to this intersection for some time. It is a busy intersection. Broadway Street, if you might know, on the east side of Broadway is basically the only access for a very large, older residential area called the Village. It's one of the earliest pioneered areas of the town. And on the west side of the road at that location is our most popular beach access. So a lot of cross traffic, a lot of pedestrians and bicyclers wanting to get across from the Village to the beach. In addition to all that, on the east end of Broadway, we have two very popular restaurants that people try to get to regularly, Shore and Mar Vista. And on the corner of the intersection, we have a restaurant called Whitney's. So it's a very popular area, a unique area that has two commercial establishments on the east end of a residential area. And so the intersection has needed some improvement for some time, and the town landed on a single-lane roundabout. The instructions to our engineer was, let's design a roundabout within the existing constraints, within the right-of-way and drainage situation that we have to date, to minimize the cost but provide a safe, functional, and aesthetically pleasing intersection. That was our direction, and that's the basis upon which we proceeded. That area of Gulf of Mexico Drive has a super elevation, so the road is banked in one direction, and we were approaching the design to reduce the banking but not entirely eliminate. So it is a state road, so in order to get any kind of permit, we needed to approach DOT, and DOT notified us at 90% plans that they are not going to approve any consideration of maintaining the super elevation. And really that puts us into a redesign situation. You can't take a road that's like this and turn it into this without some significant redesign and altering drainage on the other side of the roadway and changing your entire philosophy of how you do the project. So our engineers, Kimley Horn and Associates, the town and Kimley Horn, including the town manager, we had many follow-up meetings with DOT to see if we can keep our design as we intended, but we were not successful. The roadway design engineer said they would not sign this permit unless we completely eliminated the super elevation from the roadway. So what that does to eliminate that is it essentially lengthens our project tremendously to about 1,900 feet, plus the intersection we wanted to do to begin with. So we are now initiating a redesign effort moving forward for that. But because it's going to impact so much of the roadway, it makes sense to incorporate a lot of the complete streets elements that the town is interested in incorporating on the full 10 miles of Gulf of Mexico Drive. So now with our Broadway roundabout intersection, we're going to be working to add 7-foot wide buffered bike lanes, a 12-foot wide multi-use trail on the east side, and a 6-foot sidewalk on the west side that DOT also insisted on. This is going to add significant drainage and structural elements into the project to normalize the crown of the roadway, is what it's called, a normal crown. We're creating a normal crown to the roadway. Our redesign fee is about $158,000. It does include an adjustment from Kimley Horn because we were not real happy that we got that far before DOT made this decision. And that is actually beginning as we speak. Questions on the Broadway Roundabout. And we do appreciate Manatee County's support to date, but we are now beginning a redesign effort.
So I guess my question would be, was there there's an awful lot of graphics and pitches and it's this way and that way and it's FDOT's fault. Was there a hard ask in there of us?
There was a soft ask. How about that?
That's what I thought. Can
To be discussed with
while you have us all sitting here, can we go ahead and zero in on the ask?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, at this point, we don't know what the cost will be because we just don't have the redesign done yet. So we are moving forward with that, but we would appreciate your consideration along with FDOT's for the additional construction costs that we know are going to be there. The county had already committed, well, actually through DOT, there's a partnership there where the county was buying some land from DOT, and that was about a $1.65 million purchase. The FDOT is going to turn around and consider that as part of their project contribution. We know now that the project will exceed, probably exceed $2.5–3 million. So there is going to be a shortfall, and we would, once the redesign is back, we would like to have the opportunity to come back and discuss that with you.
It was a land swap. What was the original ask, or the original contribution on our part? Was it the 1.3?
It was the design cost. You split the design cost with the town, and that's your contribution at this point. And then there was discussion if the construction cost exceeded the 1.65, that the county would be willing to consider additional contribution up to $500,000.
Okay, so I think we were splitting design, which was like 110, 120 our share.
Something like
okay, and then we were contributing from the land swap 1.3, and we had verbally apparently committed to
a little bit more.
A little bit more. Okay, and you'll get back to us on what that looks like.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions? Commissioner Ballard.
Is the town planning on reaching out to the state for potential contribution on this project, or are you just not really at that point yet? Because obviously the legislative session's coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah, we're not at that point yet. It might be the following year. But we do anticipate that the Florida Department of Transportation, who required this change after much design, they need to be at the table. Thank you.
And I think, just to keep updated, I think the majority of your state legislative asks revolve around replacement of your submerged sewer line, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in just a second.
Commissioner Bishop.
Thank you. I was in Washington 2 weeks ago for our Florida League of Cities annual pleading with the Hill, and one of the pieces of good news, Commissioner Ballard, is we had a meeting at the White House on Thursday, and the Secretary of Transportation talked about the fact that they are now considering shovel-worthy projects and not just shovel-ready projects. Okay. One of our challenges, of course, is the fact that if you drive around the United States, I was telling Isaac, I was in Western New York last week, and there wasn't a bridge I drove under that wasn't rusted all the way through. But they have encouraged us to continue to ask and not to get tangled with Tallahassee because it's a direct funding opportunity. So we're going to give it a shot.
Wonderful.
We wish you luck with that.
Well, let me tell you that our two congressmen were really excited about it.
So. Oh, that's good. That's good. And I know if anybody can get it done in D.C., you're the person for the job. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to piggyback on what BJ was saying and let all of you know that one of the things, thanks to our new town manager's suggestion, is we now have a full-time grant writing position at Longboat Key. So we hope to be able to take advantage of some of these great opportunities that she brings to us. Thank you, BJ.
Thank you, Commissioner Murphy. Anyone else?
Tip, did we steal that person from here?
No. They do have manatee experience.
We do have, Charlie, we have a bit of a history. We like both counties equally.
Manatee
PJ,
experience.
sometimes
I like
it's a need-to-know basis.
There you go. All right, sir. On to your next item.
Thank you. All right, next item is our subaqueous force main project. A little bit of an update there. I'm not sure how many are aware, but on the town of Longboat Key, our wastewater collection system consists of 47 lift stations island-wide to move our effluent from our lift station D all the way under Sarasota Bay to the Manatee County Water Reclamation Facility across the bay. It's about a 4-mile route from the town's lift station to the Manatee County facility on 65th Avenue East. 2 miles of that route are under Sarasota Bay. 2 miles are under land. Part of it on the Longboat Key side and more of it on the east side on the Manatee County side. The town owns up to the master meter on 53rd Avenue. This is a 20-inch ductile iron force main that was installed in 1973 and placed into service in 1975. There was a leak, and you all are aware of a major leak that was discovered in June of 2020 with your staff's help. Your staff walked with my staff trying to identify where this is at, and we found it. In fact, one of the staff members of Manatee County actually fell in the hole, and we were able to help them out. It was a difficult, yeah, it was a difficult situation, but it was in it was in a mangrove fringe in a mitigation area owned by Longbar Point, Carlos Baruf, who was very accommodating to let us get in there and fix it, and through a wetland as well. So it was a difficult location. Obviously, with something like that, the town is in a consent order with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. All our obligations are up to date at this point and continue to be. We intend them to continue to be up to date. We did also complete a slip line rehabilitation project of a major portion of that pipeline on Carlos's property up all the way to the master meter. We are completing a screening assessment of the existing force main, in fact, in about a month or two. So far, there's no data points that are showing us any issues of concern, but we are proceeding forward in the fiscal year 24 and 25 to add a redundant line under Sarasota Bay for the town's effluent. And we're going to continue to final design this year and also select a construction manager. For those of you that were here and some that maybe weren't here, these are just some of the images when we had that major leak and then the repair by E.T. McKenzie. On the left-hand side of the screen, all that was vegetation, all that was wetland and mangrove that we had to create a road through. And then the bottom picture on the left is the staging area for the contractor to actually make the repair. And then the other photos are the actual repair occurring itself and pulling out the broken piece of line. As I mentioned, the town entered into a consent order with DEP on February 24th, 2021. All our deliverables are up to date, and we just completed a planting of the restoration area within Longbar Point, and we are in our monitoring period. We did complete a mainland force main lining project. We did get 2 state appropriations for this, one in the amount of $1.25 million and one in the amount of $800,000 respectively. We engaged with a company called Murphy Pipeline Contractors. We were able to slip line an 18-inch high-density polyethylene line into the 20-inch ductile iron force main because we had the excess capacity in the force main to do so. That work began in November of last year and was completed earlier this year in May. And like I said, that essentially creates a new pipeline, about 6,400 feet of that route, from essentially our break point, our repair point, all the way north to the Manatee County meter. We're very happy about that project. The total project cost was around $2.72 million. And these are just some images of the new pipeline being strung out on the left and being inserted into the existing ductile iron pipeline on the middle. And the right was actually our repair point that we had to pull out, and then we inserted the pipeline. Basically, nothing. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. We are in the middle of our screening assessment. We're actually coming to the conclusion, and there have been no major data points of concern, but we are proceeding with our major force main project. So the last piece of this update, we do have the permits we need to do an open cut of Sarasota Bay. We have our DEP permits, our U.S. Army Corps permits. Took a lot, obviously, as you might think, to get those permits to open cut Sarasota Bay. And so the plan is to install a redundant subaqueous force main under the bay. And we have to do quite a bit of seagrass mitigation to the tune of 8 acres and about 1 acre of mangrove mitigation to make that work. The town has programmed about a little over $21 million over this fiscal year and next fiscal year to complete this effort. And that's it for that update.
Mr. Mayor.
The question was asked of what we are doing in terms of legislative priorities with the state. And it was correct that the subaqueous line and funding for that is top of the list and probably the largest number, 21 million. We'll see what the bids come back as you know, bids often come back a little higher than you expect. But we also have the other requests we made, both to the Manatee delegation and the Sarasota delegation, include projects for some of the low-lying neighborhoods. And there is one, BJ's neighborhood, which is in Sarasota County, and there are two at the north end, one, both the Buttonwood and the Sleepy Lagoon neighborhoods. We have plans that we have some funding to start with, so stepped plans, phased-in plans. And then the village itself is another area, a troubled area. So we've got three of those. Each one of them will probably cost at least $5 million to address, if not more, over time to fix. And then the third element that we've been looking for funding for from the state has to do with the Complete Streets program for GMD. So that is all the way from the south end to the north end. It includes repaving. It includes some flood control issues and what have you. So those are the three things that we're working at. You know, would love to get more funding from the state and the federal government, and then, you know, maybe you folks as well.
Never hurts to ask.
Nope.
Anyone want to comment on any of this so far? This is the fun stuff. All right. No comments. You must have explained it well, sir.
Thank you.
I didn't realize you were looking at 8 acres of mitigation. That's
it's quite
tough.
a bit. Yeah, and it's actually in an area, we went through one of the lesser seagrassed areas, so it's quite a bit. All right, my final piece today, and then I'll hand it off to Alan Parsons, is it's a fun project, our town center update. So if you know Longboat Key, a little bit south of the county line, we have an area that's essentially a hub area for the town. It's where our Publix and CVS has a more commercial area. We have some houses of worship. The town hall is there. Our permitting offices are there. The post office is there. There's a piece of property that's been discussed for some time, kind of in the center of all that, as to what should be done there. It was talked about being developed at some point years ago, maybe some partnership projects. The town decided to take the initiative to purchase this area and develop some sort of a public amenity, a gathering space for the community. So back in 2014 through 2017, the town went through the effort to purchase about 4.81 acres to the tune of $3.7 million. And the town also had a study done by the Urban Land Institute that suggested a nice community gathering area would be a helpful thing for the town. So the town began working, once the purchases were complete, began work on the site. There was an existing restaurant called the Amore Restaurant on the site, but it had closed and it was just sitting vacant. So the town conducted a demolition of the restaurant, which is the upper picture in the screen. We began to design phase one. It was a very low property, so phase one was simply to start to raise the property. There was an old, isolated jurisdictional wetland that was serving no purpose, and Swiftmud said, go ahead and fill it. So we rapidly got in there and filled it before they changed their mind, and because there were other things that were of more importance to the Water Management District in terms of preserving than that wetland that had a lot of invasives in it. So we did construct phase one, and then began designing phase two, which was really to bring forth a much more complete park setting, possibly with an outdoor stage component of some type. So that's what we began to design, is the town center outdoor venue phase two, with the idea of a pavilion or a stage on the north end. So on the left-hand side is simply a site plan with some oval walkways, landscaping. We're going to elevate the site even further and slope it towards a potential future stage. The parking was existing from the restaurant, and the two blue Cheyenne-colored areas would be future buildable parcels for the town to do something there, whether a library or a community center or something. As we were in design for phase two, on Longboat Key, some donors came forward and said, you know what, why don't we make the pavilion or the stage happen sooner rather than later? And we had some major donors come forward. The Karen family, Paul and Sarah Karen, came forward with a large donation, and then there were a number of other community members who came forward and said, well, let's fill the gap. Let's see if we can make this happen, and lo and behold, that's exactly what we've done. This is a picture of the near finished product, which is now pretty much complete. This was taken about 2-3 weeks ago. The total phase two construction was about $2.3 million. We started in August of last year. This stage, the pavilion, was privately funded. That was approximately $800,000. All of the other site work was town funded at $1.5 million. And like I said, the intent here is to be a park and a gathering space for the community. There is a grand opening planned for Veterans Day, November 11th at 3 p.m. We are going to have a color guard and the national anthem, Veterans Day recognition, speakers and acknowledgement, and it's actually the 75th anniversary of the Sarasota Orchestra, so they're going to actually inaugurate the stage, if you will, and there will be light refreshments served. So we're very excited about this project. Couple of pictures from the oval. The oval walkway is a rubberized surface with a recycled base underneath and rocks for more perviousness, and then just the big grassy green for folks to come and enjoy the site. There are some upcoming events planned, and there have been some events that have been performed on the site previously, but now with the completed product, we're going to have some additional events. Of course, the grand opening, like I just mentioned. We're going to have a November tree lighting. There will be the market on Longboat Key once a month through this season. There'll be a concert series once a month called Savor the Sounds. We will have some Hermitage events, the Howard Allen Art Show, and other upcoming events. So very excited about this project and what it means to the town of Longboat Key. There is a Phase 3 effort, and like I said, it's on the Sarasota County side of the island, and so Sarasota County has committed to provide funding to design a library and essentially ultimately construct a library on the site. So one of those buildable parcels that I showed earlier to place a library, a facility on the site. The county, Sarasota County, has already selected an architect and a contractor, a construction manager. Borelli and Partners as the architect, and John F. Swift, who's done a lot of work on the island already, plan to be the construction manager. The elements that the town's really looking for to come out of a facility out here is, would be a library, and at this point, Sarasota County is working on that effort, but also to add or to have classrooms and meeting space for adult or lifelong learning, and then potentially a large or flexible multi-purpose room of some sort. These are just some images. This is not any kind of final design, but some ideas that the commission and the public on Longboat Key liked in terms of what types of spaces could be integrated with an outdoor space or open up or view out to an outdoor space and have some wood tones associated with it. So that's some of what we're inserting into the design process, as well as the opportunities if there are some interested donors on Longboat Key. There's been talk of a rooftop terrace or a balcony where you could view an event from there, and those were some of the ideas from some of the folks on the island as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It was a strong close.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Fun project.
Any questions or comments on that regarding that? All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, then let's get into the contentious stuff. Let's move into transit on Longboat Key.
Mr. Chair, we have one more
you have one
item,
more.
And this will be Alan Parsons, who's our planning, zoning, and building director.
Oh, we haven't.
This is just St. Regis, right? So the idea that a rising tide floats all boats, and so this amenity we think will be regionally a tremendous asset. And so just wanted to give the board a quick update.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, Alan Parsons, the Planning, Zoning, and Building Department Director, and happy to share this overview of the largest redevelopment project that we have underway in the town right now. I think everyone's probably familiar with the site. It's the site of the former colony. It's an 18-acre site on about the southern third of the island. It's actually a site that was one of the first intensively developed tourism sites on the town. Actually, before the town was incorporated, it was developed as the first generation of the Colony Beach and Tennis Club, which came later. There were about 3 versions of it before there was the version that I think most everyone here probably is familiar with, the Colony Beach and Tennis Club. That was opened up in 1972. It was a limited partnership arrangement with the ownership of the individual units and the tennis resort. That partnership, unfortunately, came to a close in 2010, resulting in a bankruptcy. And these are some of the images from the closure of the site. It closed very suddenly on August 15th, 2010. And if you went out to the site at any point after that for the next 7 years, it was actually looked like it was closed on a particular day because it was. You could look into the windows and see stuffed animals and suitcases that were left open. So it stayed in a unattended, electricity off kind of situation for about 7 years. Most of the structures out there are wooden, so those structures started to deteriorate and ultimately became like a concern for during hurricane season. So the town actually had to have a condemnation order and proceeded with an emergency demolition in 2017 and 2018. In 2018, the current developers of the project, Unicorp Development, had a first approval. It's been through a couple of subsequent approvals in 2021 and 2023. But generally has all of the same components to it. 67 residential units in a series of 3 5-story towers on top of a parking level, 166-room hotel. The hotel has 3 restaurants, 3 bars, a spa facility, about 18,000 square feet of meeting room space, and a number of pools actually on the balconies of these condominium units. These are 2 looks at the site plan. On the left is the one that was originally approved in 2018, and then the current plan in 2023 is on the right. Really the only changes between the 2 that are significant are just kind of the shapes of the buildings. Here in 2023, actually just last month in October, the commission approved a change that eliminated some internal mechanical parking and replaced it with a surface parking area, a pervious surface parking area along Gulf of Mexico Drive. These are a couple of views of the project as if you were looking at it from the Gulf of Mexico Drive side out toward the beach. The 3 residential buildings are on the south side, and then the 166-room hotel is on the north side of the project. The project got under construction, had a groundbreaking on October of 2021, and has a 30-month development timeline to it. These are a couple of images. The top one looking from Gulf of Mexico Drive towards Gulf of Mexico, and then the one on the bottom looking from Gulf of Mexico back towards Gulf of Mexico Drive. These were taken in August, and at its peak, the project had 800 folks being bussed out to the site on a daily basis, about $1 million worth of work per day. Right now, it's about 700 people that are working on site and about $600,000 worth of work every day. It's a total construction project. I've seen ranges from 600 to 800 million, but it's a significant project. It's anticipated to open next July and will be a revenue project on the order of about $60 million worth of revenue per year. So significant economic project here. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Will you be constructing pyramids next?
Yeah.
That's incredibly impressive. $1 million a day and 800 folks being bussed out there. Do you have any kind of estimated economic impact?
Only what the revenue figures are that we've been provided. It would be interesting to know what the economic impact will be. I mean, it's significant. It's a 5-star hotel project. So I have not seen any numbers on that.
I mean, the valet is going to make $500 a day.
Yeah.
But how many jobs do you anticipate will be generated by the project?
I apologize. I don't have that number.
Okay. You're the building department guy. I'm probably asking the wrong guy. So
we can find that out and report back here to you.
You have a commissioner that looks like he may know, sir.
Yeah, I don't know that answer. But I do know that it is open to the public. So one of the great things about all the restaurants and the pool and the spa and the facility, anyone that lives around can go. And that's a nice benefit.
That is a nice benefit. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. All right. That is a very impressive project.
Kevin, BJ. One of the fabulous things in watching this project come together is obviously with that many people working on a project that large and we only have one road, it could have been a true disaster, but they have bussed everyone in. There has never been congestion or issues with congestion through the whole project. They have been amazing in coordinating that so that they've moved their workers in and out. The contractor has been absolutely fabulous.
Where was their off-site parking?
I believe some of it was at St. Armand's. They made a boatload of
They
money,
used
and
the
then they
parking
also
garage
had
there.
some on the mainland.
Parking garage in St. Armand's.
Okay.
Took a lot of the people in, they busted them from there.
Commissioner Ballard.
So I think that part of it is great and probably kind of overlooked how important that has been for the residents.
Oh, yeah.
So who planned that to make sure that we, that you didn't have all of this congestion and people, constantly crowding out the people who live?
The construction company is Moss, which is the largest in the state, and they did a fabulous job. There was a topping out party early this year, and some of us were invited to just join them for lunch and walked around into the construction site and up and saw that they were feeding 700 people for lunch in what will be the ballroom of that. They just had a lineup with chafing dishes, and they were serving lunch to all their workers.
Fantastic. Sounds like a
Yeah, it's
great
quite an
company.
operation. Quite an operation. Yes, ma'am.
I
Commissioner Gold.
was also going to say that the units and the neighbors on both sides of that construction site can't say enough nice things about Moss and how they handled it. They actually came out and washed their cars when there was a lot of construction dust, and if they needed anything, they would be there and get it to them. And so it was really amazing process.
Good to know. I'm dealing, construction dust is the order of the day around here for District 3, so I should look into that. All right, anyone else? Okay, thank you so much, sir. Then we will move on to transit without any issues. Discussion on transit on Longboat Key. Who is here from staff?
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and start that.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Tipton. So the town has been looking for an island-wide solution for 4 to 5 years now. As everybody knows, the counties are typically the transit providers, and because we are in 2, we've been struggling with a solution. Currently, we've got workers and people who can take it to about where the Publix is, and then they change, and if they want to go north, then they pick up the Manatee version of the on-demand. We have been in discussions with both counties trying to help facilitate this conversation. I believe Sarasota County has an application or a proposal into Manatee County. And based on the conversations that we've had with you and Mr. Bishop, believe that we're at a point now where there's agreement that, or at least a recommendation that the Manatee County will be supporting Sarasota providing that transport service.
Okay, I don't have any
We have
issue
Chad
with that. Does anyone
from-
else?
Chad Butzo from Public Works is here to discuss it. We did receive the proposal from Sarasota County, and he's been looking at it to evaluate. So
And Chad,
discuss that.
transit in Manatee County is free. Just wondering how you're planning to approach that.
To the resident, it would be different. So I want to take an opportunity. Chad Butzo, Public Works Director, Manatee County. I have an entire new team down at Transit right now, so if I could have them at least stand up in the back. So I wanted to put a face to a name, or a name to a face, if you had anything. Beginning from left to right as we looking at these guys, the nice young man with red tie, that is Kevin Hoyt. He has joined us. He is our Transit Division Manager. Now. He is from the area, had a lot of time. He has a weird accent from New York. He is an Islanders fan from Long Island, and but he's done some time here with Pinellas, Hart, Pasco, and this is his second stint with Manatee County now as our manager. Chris Dianuntis is right next to him. He is our planning manager down in Transit. So anytime we're dealing with a lot of our data analysis and prediction, route modification, scheduling, things like that, it comes through Chris's section. He has a significant amount of time with Cutter, the Center for Urban Transportation Research, Sarasota County, Pasco County, Hart, and also recently joined us. Benita Czar on the right, last but certainly not least, been with Manatee County for I won't even try to say, but it's been a long time. Benita has definitely worked her way up through Transit. was endless experience in the paratransit side. Been a keystone of our local coordinating board with the on-demand service that Manatee County has run for many years. She is now our number 2 in charge as the operations chief down in transit. So anytime that I'm giving you an answer, they gave me the answer, but they're trying to. They're still. Bonita and Kevin are still 2 people trying to do 4 jobs. We're still hiring 2 superintendents down in transit, but just about back to full strength and hoping to hit it on all cylinders. So thank you for obliging me for that introduction. I'm going to quickly open something just to make a conversation. So everything that was said was, is that the right one? Yep. Was what we had been talking about. We've been in numerous conversations with quite a while. I got to look, see what's actually showing. So a reminder of what Manatee County currently does. The current service that's provided to the town of Longboat Key is based on your geographic location. So this is what the administrator and the mayor have been talking about for a long time. We provide a similar service, but they're separate services. And so if you, the most appalling thing or disappointing thing for a resident of Longboat Key is you could only go to basically the middle of the island, have to leave our service, join whatever service the rest of the island is getting. So when we observe what the town is asking for, it's a little bit of a hybrid thing. The request from the town is to provide the same service to the Manatee County Longboat Key residents that the rest of the island is getting. So in working with Next, just a reminder, we've been in contact with Sarasota. They were on the, I call it, they were almost on the bloody edge of the sword, the cutting edge of the sword. They went out and experimented with something in a contract on-demand service. We didn't have any proof that it was something that was going to be controllable, manageable, or whatever, so we chose not to join them immediately. That was offered up front. So these purple areas, magenta areas, are what they're calling their main Longboat Key zone, or the key areas that the current Sarasota residents of Longboat Key can go within this on-demand service that Sarasota provides through a private contractor. I will not use the U word. It's not quite Uber, but it's a reservation based. It has a time delay before they confirm the trip and they'll get to you. It's a $2 copay for when they accept it and they provide the service. And but it has to be, your origin and destination has to be within that zone. Much the same as what we do, but we don't cross the county lines. So what has been proposed is potentially Manatee County buying in as Sarasota being our contractor through an interlocal agreement. That interlocal agreement has recently been looked at by staff. Would say only in the last week has it been submitted up to the legal department to review. But it's a very simple interlocal agreement discussing on a cost per trip basis to Manatee County. The differences, because of the 2 programs, I glossed over that. Our program was more mimicking our existing handy bus system, which was a 24-hour in advance reservation system. We were focusing on the passengers that were trying to get to work. They would make majority of even these 4,000 annual trips when I got to the totals were people that made reservations to go to and from work, and they had reservations. So that we would typically pick them up at the end of the route at the Coquina bus turnaround and then take them somewhere into Longboat Key. But because of that difference being not same-day reservations, typically drove our ridership to be considerably lower than what Sarasota was doing, where you could do the same-day ridership. In just looking at these numbers, you see the major difference and you see the major growth that Sarasota has had with them. Some of the discussions we've had with Sarasota staff has been trying to forecast where is the upper limit of demand. And we don't have that complete answer yet. Sarasota doesn't have that complete answer yet on what that demand can be. In some ways, saturation, whether it be traffic or even just demand, you can only make so many trips in that 1 hour. So it's kind of like the first come, first serve of maybe who's making those trips. So when we say, what's the cost? So Sarasota's interlocal agreement to Manatee County as a vendor for us, so the citizens of town of Longboat Key and Manatee County use the same app, provide the exact, so they're barrierless. They can go, that magenta zone just absorbs what was our Longboat Key zone, is a $30.67 cost to Manatee County per trip. When you look at our numbers, that's a pretty small number. When you look at the numbers that Sarasota was averaging over those last 2 years, this can tip 600,000. So it is not sure what would be on the first year. Maybe somewhere in between. Sarasota grew into theirs. This is their last 2 years that they were sharing their numbers with us. They did their contract according to federal requirements, and they are paying their vendor through FTA grant funds. It doesn't mean that's a bottomless pot of funds, but it means there is a pot of funds other than local funds that hopefully can take care of paying some of this cost for Manatee County. We haven't completely finished that question on the Manatee County side about using the federal funds, just because we're buying into a contract through an interlocal agreement. We're pretty sure it's totally legal and totally can use the FTA funds, but we do need to ask FTA Atlanta Region 4 to make sure that that's a legitimate thing to say we can still do that. And so it really just comes down to providing that service, because I know, certainly have seen it over the last year. I think I finally understood it clearly from the town as far as what they were looking for. This agreement represents that. It allows for an annual review of that cost per trip. Depending on the efficiencies, potentially it could go down, doubtful, but I mean, it could be, because it's basically the total cost that Sarasota pays plus a small overhead charge added into there to a cost per trip. It's my understanding on the Sarasota side, I think they're paying more of a service contract, so it's a little bit more based on hours of service provided by the vendor rather than a cost per trip. So they will see maybe a little more efficiency from increased ridership based on a cost per hour rather than a cost per trip. But that was all I wanted to bring forward to the board. I don't think our board is potentially going to, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I wasn't expecting maybe a vote on it, but wanted to put into scale for what we provide and a cost, because it's all internal cost. You know, it's very difficult to put an exact dollar to exactly what our cost is, because it's how big of a overhead number do you put on our hourly cost. So we've put this together a number of ways because of the dwell time of the hours available to serve this many trips, because we're available for those pop-up calls, even though we ask for the 1 hour, the day before reservations, because it is an ADA service as well. We're anywhere from 200,000 to probably 250,000, maybe even on our side, as far as the cost internally, between labor, equipment, for how we deal with currently providing the service. At the time, it was still a dramatic lower cost than participating in the shared running the fixed route trolley up and down the island. So that was one of the reasons this service went to back in 2017 or 18. I forgot when we made the transition.
Commissioner Ballard.
So right now we're spending 250,000, and is that to make just these trips, just these 4,000 trips, or is that for this service, for the kind of handy bus type service throughout the county?
No, ma'am. That is mainly to be available and in place for the enough times to deal with the trips that we have made. So that is to be able to deal with this zone.
So just specifically this zone?
Specifically on that zone. We do offer a time during the off-season where we can, if we don't have that reservation, we know we got a free 2 hours, we can make another trip with the handy bus during that time. But come heavier traffic seasons, we know we'll never make it back out to the island in time to be responsible to another reservation. So it depends on the time of the year. That's what we mean by dwell time. You're kind of out there available.
And so do we know who's utilizing this Sarasota County service? Because I mean, that's amazing utilization compared to what we're getting. Is it, retirees who don't drive trying to get into Sarasota? Is it people who work out on the island?
Yeah, all the jobs
trying to
are
get
on
to
the-
and from work.
All the jobs are on the Sarasota end. Most of the commercial. Yeah, you're driving from downtown Sarasota to St. Armand's, and then all of the jobs are on the Sarasota side of the key.
Right.
From the downside on a pure Manatee County, if Manatee was allowed to be slightly selfish and say that was the only thing on that, the way the zone was set up, to say could it be more focused just on Longboat Key, or could it at least just include St. Armand's or something rather than downtown Sarasota? I didn't ask that. I was just going to bring that up conversationally. I took it as the request to our staff to offer to the Manatee County end of Longboat Key what the south end already has. And that's kind of where the interlocal agreement lies right now.
Chad?
Yes.
I noticed at Zoda, which is on the Manatee side, it appears that most of their employees do take advantage of some type of bus service. Now, I'm assuming that you all provide
Chris?
that?
I need to get somebody that actually knows real information.
Now
but
going to jump to the front and answer this for us.
as long as the green light's on, Chris.
Yes, we have about 10 to 11 passengers per day that use our service into the southern end of Longboat Key to get to jobs. I think
But that's all? Just 10 to 11?
10 to 11 per day,
Wow.
yeah.
All right, Commissioner Gold.
Yeah, first I wanted to just tell you how well the on-demand works. I use it frequently, as do a lot of my neighbors, to get to restaurants, to get to St. Armand's, to go down to Publix. But I guess I'm a little confused. If the $250,000 that you spend now only goes to half the island, would you discontinue that and let On-Demand from Sarasota take the whole island? Or would you just expand what you're doing into the additional 5 miles? Or
No, I mean, the option is to suspend ours, so the resources that we had, we can either do more paratransit trips on the mainland or have other staff hours available for redundant service on the fixed route
great,
on the mainland.
that sounds like an easy fix.
It's in lieu of is what I
Yes.
was referring
Thank
to.
you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, and just the theory on this was that the cost that Manatee County expends to run the service that you have on Longboat Key now would be transferred to Sarasota County in exchange for which Sarasota County would provide its on-demand service up, for the northern part of the island and into Coquina Beach. And that would be, ideally, that would be a wash or near wash, and it sounds like it might actually be that way, although it would obviously have to be adjusted from time to time, given the traffic. And just to take one step back and look at the theory behind this, traffic, especially during the season, is the biggest problem by far on the island that we cannot solve. So we're taking the steps we can to try to resolve it, and one is to try to make the best uniform transit system that we can have to solve the needs. And as we see people on the south end are using the Sarasota County system frequently, and it would be very helpful to be able to do what you're now discussing, and that's to expand it island-wide. Hopefully with it not being more costly or much more costly to Manatee than it is at this point. So that's, and as someone said, this has been 5 years in the works. I think we lost Route 18, which was the main route that was serving the island, almost that long ago. And, ideally, if the contract is out there and it's possible to get this going before or into this winter season, that would be dramatically helpful to us.
Is that possible, Chad?
We need as the meetings go, we need to put unfortunate pressure within staff and the legal departments of both counties. I believe we both have a meeting on December 12th. I'm not exactly sure how that works, if we executed the same agreement signature-wise together, if that could be considered active or validated. Not sure.
Okay, I think the meeting is the 14th, actually. but pretty close. Commissioner Bearden, and then
speaking of the
Commissioner
December
Gold,
meeting.
and then, yep, Commissioner Murphy, and then Commissioner Ballard. Commissioner Bearden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chad, how much is it costing us currently right now? Do you know those numbers?
That's where I was saying. It depends on how you would, which number you cost our hourly rate to charge. If you're looking at a more of what we truly pay our operator with no overhead of the department, you're probably just under 200,000. If you're looking at a reasonable overhead on the operator, we're in that easy to 200 to 220, 230, 230,000 annually range.
Now, thank you, Chad. Sarasota County, I mean, they're providing those services to you as well on the ride share. It sounds like to me that if we took the cost from both counties and just handed over to the city to allow them to manage their own transit on the city, that might be a better option.
That would, we could do that. We could do that. It's not preferred. What we want to try to do is continue to work because we recognize that counties are the transit authorities. And we want to make sure that they have that and continue to have that more regional focus. So we can do that. It's just not ideal for us. We'd like to work with one or the other. And based on the ridership that has existed, it seemed that Sarasota would be the better partner and actually be a cost savings for Manatee at the same time. So we solve kind of the one island service. You're actually saving money in the deal, and it allows our residents to feel like they can go anywhere on the island. But if it all falls apart, we'll take the money and we'll solve it ourselves.
The $2 ride share, though, that's going to Sarasota County, correct?
That would go to Sarasota County if they operate the entire island. Right now, we don't charge for ridership because
No,
that's
I
the
know.
Manatee
I'm
County-
talking
yeah.
about the Sarasota County side.
It would, and they're charging $2 today. So then they would, if they took the entire island, be making the $2 per ride. But transit overall is a loss on both
course.
sides. Yeah, and so that's Sarasota County wants to. In their agreement, they would want us to make them whole by covering our portion of Longboat.
Yeah, Jay, we only have 11 passengers a day. It's $22.
Yeah.
All right, Gold, Murphy, and Ballard.
Yeah. First, I was just going to say your question about the St. Regis and the number of jobs you might expect. I think when that opens, there's going to be a lot of folks that may be traveling from Bradenton or Cortez over there, and to have to stop and find a new type of transportation from Publix on makes no sense. So, I mean, just from a benefit of the citizens here, I think it would make a lot of sense. And just doing a quick estimate, if if we have 4,000 riders from Manatee and it's a $30 cost per ride, that's $120, which is considerably less and should more than cover the overhead that Sarasota has. I think you make a good point, Tip. It's a savings for Manatee, and it's certainly. And I'd hate for the town to have to reinvent the wheel when the Sarasota service has been up and running and tested and really operational with all of the technology that goes into running that system. I think it's a good deal all around. So.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Murphy?
I just want to make a point, too, to follow up on what Penny was just saying. We haven't gotten to the discussion yet on the community center, but one of the hopes with Manatee County helping to support that is that you will have residents that will want to be coming to Longboat Key, and a lot of them are looking for affordable transportation options to make that work. And they also, even though we're only getting 11 or 12 people from a workforce development standpoint using it in the Manatee County side, I believe that more would take advantage of that, and some of them struggle right now during the season. So I think that those are two other reasons that this should be considered.
I have Ballard and then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Commissioner Ballard.
So I just wanted to say that this is something that I've actually brought up a couple of times, the on-demand service and how we can incorporate that and offer that as a part of our offerings in Manatee County. I know that this is, doing it through Sarasota County, but I'd really like us to keep a close eye on how this is working and see how we could incorporate more on-demand services in Manatee County, maybe in lieu of some of what we're doing now, because I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of people, especially people who are working out on the island. So, if we're talking about Anna Maria Island, maybe we should be potentially looking at the same thing in the future.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Bearden?
What is Longboat Key doing in regards to the retail center that's north of the island and driving more traffic to the actual retail center? Is there like any new shops going in, or like from a tourist standpoint? Does anybody know?
Mr. Town Administrator.
On the north end, would that be Whitney Plaza redevelopment? Yeah, which is our next topic. Okay. But yeah, it's pretty much leased out at this point, except for the one large space that we'll be talking about. But otherwise, it's pretty well leased out, and it seems to be functioning well in terms of access and parking and everything.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Bishop, and then Commissioner Haycock.
The one other elephant in the room is during season, and especially as the weather improves, the traffic coming off the island, and especially trying to come through Coquina, because no one seems to go to the beach unless they take their own car. And in a perfect world, there would be a transit system that would help move people happily to the beach, and they wouldn't have to sit there and be in such a bad mood on Bradenton Beach, honking their horns all the way up the road at 5 miles an hour. And I would guess, because I often frequent doctors on Manatee Avenue, God help those people on Saturdays on Manatee Avenue, both putting along and putting off. So is there some sort of public transit system that will help us deal with the environment, but more importantly, deal with the traffic nightmares on both of those east-west thoroughfares?
You can, not specifically. So the short term is getting back to fully staffed, getting Route 3 consistently running with our 30-minute frequency, service development hopefully coming in the next year quickly to get Cortez Road running with 30-minute headways as well. Trying to improve the headway is where the core system is going. Service development through the state of Florida to shortly, as soon as we're able to staff it, is available to get Route 99, 41 to 20-minute service. So that is what we're picturing would be the key. It's not free. At the moment we're doing the pilot of free fare, but even before we had the weekends and holidays, free beach shuttle from 75th area out to the islands. That got virtually minimal use. It's one of those things as far as the convenience of I can take everything, but it's not until you're realizing the trip home, getting there typically isn't too bad. So we understand the need, and that is the only thing that probably would dramatically help that is a heavy use on mass transit for the daily beachgoers. Yeah, but that's what we're hoping would be the touch. At least 30-minute service on Cortez, at least 30-minute service on Manatee to attempt to put a dent in that.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to tell you that my first job in Washington on the Hill was working for the National Auto Dealers Association during the gas crisis. And we were trying to encourage everybody to stay in their cars and not commute on public transportation. We called it the freedom of mobility trip. And boy, has that come back to just beat me in the head every time I'm sitting on Gulf of Mexico or Cortez or Manatee. So it's partially my fault.
Thank you for the moment of clarity on that. So we have Haycock and Gold.
Yeah, I'm on the MPO board, and we have every quarter we have meetings on mass transit, and both counties present. And so I've seen, I don't know, what, 3 or 4 years worth of growth data for on-demand, and it just is, it doubles almost every year in Sarasota County. So it's hugely popular. It's Uber for $2. Basically, and why it's so popular. So I think it's a terrific solve for us for mass transit for the north end of the island, and I hope you all will agree to help sponsor it. Now, go in with your eyes open, because that 4,000 is not going to be 4,000 if you go into it, but it still has a good chance of beating, you're paying $50 a trip now, so it still has a chance of potentially paying for itself.
If I, Commissioner, Mr. Chair, on that is what we've started is where we were able to move at this pace to be there. When we initially started over the summer, I stepped all over Sarasota's shoes because I went directly to VIA and was attempting to get the same contract they had for the island. Not the easy answer in the short run. They were fairly upset about that mechanism. It's a branded system, one reservation system, trying to have that seamless feel, invisible to the town as one limits, the county is blind for the town limits. So at the moment, this is our cost per trip, but I do, if we stay in this arrangement, intend to continue to see between technology with the vendor and or Sarasota, I would prefer to get to the service level billing rather than the cost per trip. So when the volume is there, there is some economy of scale. Otherwise, the cost per trip could get out of hand very quickly.
Yeah, good point. Commissioner Gold. It often happens when you're in a room with long-winded politicians. That happens all the time. All right, so are there any other questions on this subject? Commissioner Satcher? Yeah. And then we'll take a quick recess after we conclude this topic.
I'm not sure who had the map, but do we have the service area map, the proposed?
Well, it becomes a combination of both of them, but on this map, it's the entire key. But remember, they include Bird Key and downtown Sarasota. They get St. Armand's, Lido, Bird Key, and downtown Sarasota.
But what we're proposed to be doing, does it go across to Coquina Beach?
That is the north limit, and that was the point. That way it connects with the Manatee County transit system. So you could be a person that took Route 6 out to the Coquina bus turnaround and made a reservation with this system and could get into Longboat Key or any part of that Magenta system.
Okay. Thank you. No other question.
Yeah, all right. There's no real simple solution to it, is there? I mean, traffic is what it is, and the timing is going to be what it's going to be. So, but we appreciate the efforts. Any other questions on transit before we take a quick recess? Yes, ma'am.
I remembered what I was going to say, and it goes to what BJ was talking about in terms of trying to get off the island, especially with the beach traffic. That we had a resident who had recommended that the side parking, that diagonal parking by the beach, be disallowed and put everybody into the parking lot, and that way, and then just limit the exits to the parking lot, because what happens is if you have hundreds of people leaving the beach at the same time and then they're backing up onto Gulf of Mexico Drive, it just holds everybody back to all the way to, Ace Hardware. So I just wondered if there was any thought about doing that and changing the parking access and exit.
There was sort of an elaborate plan, Chad, at one point. She's talking down the Cortez Beach area.
Yeah.
When we were discussing the jitney and a path essentially for the jitney of having people pull in so that they would come down sort of an access lane and then they would nose up to the road so that their trunk and their beach supplies and their children were towards the beach and not towards the road. We felt that was a safety improvement. And then when they pulled out, it was safer and smoother. But I don't know where that ever went, Chad.
With our last discussion in our quarterly meetings with the Bradenton Beach staff, we said with the funds, since we have the active major sewer replacement line going on along Gulf Drive and Bradenton Beach, we were going to quickly review the survey data that we have and see if there's a way to configure that parking area. We were more focused, honestly, on seeing if there was enough room to guarantee that there would be a motorized cart trail adjacent to the paved asphalt walking trail for that portion of Bradenton Beach, more so to encourage alternative forms of transportation than a vehicle, was to be to assure there to shorten the shell space up, not necessarily restrict the number of entries and locations. But right now, we're just in the reviewing of the survey there to verify, is there room to do anything within that limited area? It's a lot of parking spaces, though. I don't remember the number.
it was also to help Bridge Street, the commercial area of Bridge Street with parking as well by connecting it with the jitney, so. Yes, ma'am, Commissioner Murphy.
One final point about the advantage to looking at this now is with the ferry coming online, I think there's going to be opportunities again for people to maybe come over by the ferry and then use on demand to get back or connect to public transit, which goes to, again, what we're talking about of different ways to diffuse the traffic patterns so that it's not so difficult during peak periods for people to move.
Sure, come out and make a day of it. Yeah, all right. Anything else on transit? All right, we'll take a 10-minute recess. It's 3:07. We're in recess.
Sorry, I held you hostage.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're continuing on through our joint meeting with the Town of Longboat Key and the Manatee County Board of County Commissioners. And we have two items left, item 3 and item 5. Don't ask how we got there. But we'll start with 3, which is a discussion on Whitney Beach Plaza Community Education Center. And I want to give some background on this. There's some new members to both boards and how we got here. In 2020, when Commissioner Cruz and myself and Satcher came on the board, the relationship between Longboat Key and the county was quite strained at that time. And when we came on, the town of Longboat Key had actually come to the county commission and asked to be annexed out of Manatee County and entirely into Sarasota County. And it wasn't met with a lot of fanfare from our predecessors. Then there was an APAGA study that was requested through the legislature to study what that would look like and to sort of really get the ball rolling on it. And so when we came in, we had a meeting with them and realized what the situation was, and the rest of the board basically said, KVO, it's your district, get your house in order. So I went right to work on that and started mending fences, and it went really well. And essentially, it seemed like the town felt that they had been greatly ignored and sort of neglected out there. They know that they're a donor community to Manatee County. They contribute significantly to the tax rolls. Roughly, you're in the $40+ million range when it comes to property taxes to Manatee County alone. When it comes to the school district, you're contributing a very similar number to the school district. And the town doesn't really get much in services. They know that. They understand that. But the few things that they were asking for, they just felt they were being sort of dismissed when it came to those items. What do you have, like 15 kids in the school system? You're contributing like $40 to $45 million annually?
We have, I think, 35
Oh,
in the
wow.
Manatee system.
You've had a baby boom.
$400,000 a student.
400 per student.
Right.
Okay.
And they would like that money now.
Yes.
To help with their future education.
You could put them on jets and send them to Switzerland to boarding school for that. But at any rate, we wanted Longboat Key in the county, and even at times, like Commissioner Bearden stated, sort of turned the tables and said, no, we love Longboat Key. It's one of the most beautiful areas in the entire county and in the entire state, and we want all of it in Manatee County. So we've worked hard to try to mend those fences, and the reason I bring the past up is because one of the main asks was for a community center or some sort of a county presence on the Key. And what they were looking for specifically was a community center, and they didn't just throw it out there as pie in the sky. They actually had a location and generally knew what they wanted out of it. It would be a partnership between the school district and the county. The idea being that the county would lease the space and build the space out, and that the school district would then sort of operate the space for us. And they're looking for adult education classes and obviously spaces, sort of community space as well. The location they found was Whitney Plaza, which is actually on a canal on the north end, and I'm sure when Elliot comes up to talk about the water taxi, he'll mention that there is a dock behind there that would come with the lease, and we could potentially have the water taxi. That could be their stop on Longboat as well. If not there, Ed Childs has mentioned that he's interested in hosting the water taxi at his restaurant. I'm sure he would greet them with a margarita as they got off the boat and everything. But anyway, so the point of my sort of update here is that this particular item has been discussed since we started the process of sort of rebuilding the relationship, and so I just wanted all sort of new commissioners to know where this started and how we got here. All right, who's here?
And if I could,
Mr. Mayor,
just to interject from our standpoint as well, when you were having your sort of changing of the guard several years ago, we were going through the same kind of a transition on Longboat Key, and it's a two-way street. We had a strong feeling about that one county was an emblem at Longboat for many years among many of the older commissioners there. And I think we had a realization that although there are some complications attendant to being in two counties, as there are, There are also some benefits of being in two counties, and we have an opportunity to be a part of the entire region. And that's something that is, we think is a benefit to us. But also to not have the friction that existed and on both counties. It wasn't just with Manatee, but to try to reach out and have the benefits of having both Sarasota and Manatee be a part of our world. And you, in particular, Kevin, not only as the chairman, but as the representative for the island communities, have really led the charge on that. We appreciate it, not only with contributions to things that we're doing in the transit and the Whitney Plaza, but also working with us on beach cleanup and marine patrol and other things like this in Greer Island. So the relationship has evolved enormously over the last 3 years. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right. Who is here from staff to present?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner, for the introduction. Good afternoon, all commissioners. My name is Charles Metter. I'm the Property Acquisition Division Manager, and I'm happy to provide an update on the Whitney Plaza. First and foremost, this is a partnership with the school board, and so I want to emphasize that. It takes a little bit of work with our friends at the school board. There's been a lot of progress lately, and I can share some of the progress with you and what steps remain to get this finalized, because I think all sides would like to get this finalized. As far as the area, it's 6,140 square foot of the ground floor of the Whitney Plaza. The ground floor is 10,000 foot in general, but in working with our friends at the school board and talking to some folks internally, we've settled on the 6,140 square foot area. And so we've asked the school board to provide us with a site plan, kind of give us a markup of what they want to do. As the chair alerted to earlier, they want to do yoga, adult activities, and certain things out there. And so we asked for a markup. How many classrooms, where's the rolling divider? And so that's what currently with the school board right now. The area will need a complete build out. The HVAC and the fire alarm have not been inspected, and in working with Tom Yager, we've estimated like a complete remodel to be about $1.2 million. And my understanding the county is gonna pay for that. It's about a 7-month time frame for that remodel as well. There's currently not a business case or a CIP on the county side at this time, but my understanding is that's in process with property management fiscal. There's also an interlocal agreement. The interlocal agreement is currently in draft form, and it's with the school board. So it's pending some feedback from the school board on exactly what activities they would like to propose out there. In regards to the lease, we do have a draft lease, and we're going to be submitting a request for legal services in the days ahead to review that draft lease. As far as cost, how much is this place going to cost? It's going to be roughly $135,000 a year. And so it's currently proposed for a 4-year term, and so that's about $11,200 a month. What else do I have for you? The county is going to hire an architect to do the remodel, and to the commissioner's point earlier, there is a boat dock in the back, and in the lease, it does give the county a first right of refusal for that boat ramp should we choose to expand with a water taxi. And that's what I have for you today.
All right. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Murphy.
I just want to make a clarifying point, if I can. One of the things that we did ask, because there are businesses operating in the shopping center that provide yoga, Pilates, anything to do with fitness and whatever, is that we would ask that those particular
Non-compete.
things. Yeah,
that's correct. That's correct.
Thanks.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, because you're the district commissioner at the north end out there, and when I spoke with and you might want to help me with the name of the group, I think it was like Longboat Key North End.
Thank you, Kevin.
Is that the name of it?
That's the
okay,
name of it, yes.
Okay, that was pretty good. So when I spoke with them, they were interested in like a photography class, marine biology class, like history of the, something about the history of the area, whether it be, anything from like Native Americans that lived out there to just, even more modern history of the area. It was really interesting, the things they were looking for as far as adult education. And then the other thought was that, and of course people would pay, when they came in, they would pay the school board for the classes. The school board could bring in instructors from maybe MTC or even high school teachers that could get, essentially additional hours for working out there. And then lastly, the idea was to bring in instructors who were essentially the school would, or we would provide the space, and then the instructor would charge people to come in for their classes.
Yeah, because one of the advantages the space has is it actually has like kitchen facilities. So there could be things that are not necessarily things that you would have to rebuild that would offer it to things again for adult education. But that's why the transportation thing we talked about earlier is very important, because we need to make sure that we can provide relatively, inexpensive transportation for people to use the space.
Sure. Mr. Bishop, or maybe I think that's a similar sort of model that we're using at like GT Bray for those activity rooms there. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Gold.
Yes, I just want to mention that I've had a few of the artists that I know on the island that are interested in having space to be able to continue their artwork instead of having to go into Sarasota. They would love to be able to stay on the island and do that. I didn't know if in the remodel, if maybe we could talk to the architect about having some space set aside for artists to use.
Would it be for them simply to paint in or to do classes in?
Paint.
Either or.
Yes.
Okay.
Paint.
Commissioner Ballard, you look like you might have something to add.
Well, I mean, I think that studio space makes a lot of sense, especially in a community like Longboat, where you do have a lot of artists. You have people who are oftentimes retired and doing that sort of thing almost full time. So then maybe they could utilize it part of the time, and then you could also hold art classes and things like that in the evenings. I think that makes a lot of sense for that type of community.
Yeah, I mean, as long as there is a class aspect to it, to the space, I would be comfortable with that. Commissioner Murphy.
One of the things I also forgot to mention, which is of particular interest to me as I'm a retired business owner, is the idea of using a lot of the people that are retired that are business owners to be able to do some things with mentoring and whatever to be able to use some of their knowledge and be able to, exchange some of that with some of the people that are interested in business opportunities and whatever.
Love that. All right. Mr. Mayor.
And just one other thing, I know that there's a new school superintendent in town, and he's had to take some time to get his feet under the desk and a long list of things to deal with. But we did happen to see Chip and I, the town manager, the chairman of the school board, after the legislative delegation meeting earlier this month, and just talk with him for a while outside the building about this project. And I was excited about how excited he seemed to be about doing this. And he had some ideas. I think there's a Guy Harvey program that exists in the Anna Maria School that he thought might even be a good fit for this. So he was coming up with ideas about how to get the school board involved.
Yeah, I think it's like a lot of projects. As it develops, right, more and more ideas come to the table.
There would be no lack of ideas of what to do with there.
Commissioner Gold.
Sorry, that I went back and looked at this survey, the 2023 survey that the town did, and adult education was very high on the ratings and rankings in the survey.
Excellent. All right. Any further questions or concerns on that? All right. Thank you, Mr. Metter. Well done. Then we will move on to the water taxi, and I'm sure we're going to hear from the always popular, always entertaining Elliot Faccioni.
You all can talk about my pants.
They're great pants.
For the record, Commissioner Ron sincerely liked my pants. Thank you, Commissioner. I did lose a bet. We'll get it out in the open now. There it is. I'm
Did
a
you
tourism
lose?
guy.
Did your
and it's
fantasy
Halloween?
Did your fantasy football team lose?
No, but if I'm not here tomorrow, the county administrator sent me on psychological evaluation. So it's such a pleasure to be here. I told the mayor I'd give him a shout out. Mayor, I have a business proposal for you that you can't turn down. We'll bring you the water ferry service. You annex St. Regis into our county.
That's fair to me.
Just St. Regis. Right? Just St. Regis, okay.
Congratulations. Tom Apospris, when he was president of the chamber, I think we trespassed that property. And to see where it was then and where it's going to be today, y'all know there's not many five-star resorts in the state of Florida. And what it's going to do, not only for Longboat Key, but the region, is going to be something really, really special. So God bless y'all. That's really exciting. Can't wait till it's open. Wanted to give you another water taxi update. I know last time I got in front of some elected officials was the Council of Governments meeting. So a lot of the town officials for Longboat Key isn't really privy to what's going on. I've done a really poor job managing expectations on the timing of this. But let me tell you where we're at, and we're within 30, 40 days of getting on those boats and getting them running. We are contracted with a firm out of Clearwater called Clearwater Ferry for a 5-year deal with 3 additional 1-year renewals. They've been doing service with the city of Clearwater since 2016, and they're running a sustainable operation up there. Keep in mind, it's a much denser population. I think Pinellas is the most dense county in the state of Florida. We have interlocal agreements with the 3 cities involved, being downtown city of Bradenton, city of Anna Maria, city of Bradenton Beach. That's exciting. The ADA ramps are being fabricated as we speak. That's a prayer answered. It just took a long time to get there. We have permits for the installation. The signs have been fabricated by Manatee County. The county will install some signs in certain cities, and I think Bradenton Beach will install the signs on their own as well. The ferries are currently docked at Twin Dolphin, so when you leave here, you can go ride by, check them out. They're branded, they're beautiful. 2 49-passenger vessels. We're working with the county, Casey and his team, on inviting all the Manatee County elected officials to the blessing of the ships. You're in the Navy. I don't know much. I'm a city kid, so you're supposed to do a blessing. So we're going to do that with the elected officials, and then take whoever has time to come on a familiarization tour. So we'll go from downtown Bradenton out to the city pier and then back. Depending on the CHOP, am I doing good, Brian, with all these water terminologies?
Doing okay, but to be honest, I was a CB, Civil Engineer Corps, so
Okay,
they
so
called
you
us
can't
dirt
support me,
sailors, so
okay.
you'd be as...
Charlie, we got to talk after the meeting.
I was Air Force.
Yes. It's depending on the CHOP, the winds, it's about a 30 to 35 minute commute from downtown Bradenton to the Anna Maria Pier. Initially, we thought it would be 40 to 45 minutes, so that 10 minutes is really going to make a good difference there as well. We also are going to invite the media the same day, and they will do an exclusive media-only familiarization tour. I think they're going to be our biggest ambassadors. They are haunting me daily, wanting updates, so that's great. They're our allies for this initiative, and staff has a strategic plan in place to not only create awareness of the ferry service to the visitors that we know are planning on coming in, or prospective visitors that may come in, but we're also going to attack the backyard as well, because we really need at least 30% of the ridership to be Manatee, Sarasota residents. We have the last 3 major holidays, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. We had our third-party research firm do surveys at the public beaches. We went from 2 years ago, right after COVID, about 34% had an appetite to utilize a ferry service, to 61% have an appetite now. So that's good news. We are working with Chad's team, who writes grants. There may be a federal grant available if you have a water ferry system operating that could help us buy a 3rd ferry. And when we pull that off, I'll be optimistic. We'll look to spec out an all-indoor ferry that may be a little bit faster, like an express. And think about it, if we have that to go from downtown Bradenton to the island, then the outdoor ones can go up and down the island. And I think it was Commissioner Murphy may have said it, one of the commissioners here said, that traffic on Gulf Drive coming from the Key up through the island, if we can get cars off the road and someone who's staying on North Anna Maria Island and say, you know what, let's just take the ferry to Bridge Street and enjoy dinner on Bridge Street. and then they have an option to either Uber back or take the ferry back. That is really going to be important. It needs to be dependable. We're going to have a GPS system on an app. So if you're having a drink somewhere on Bridge Street or North Anna Maria Island or even Pier 22, you'll be able to look and say, okay, the ferry will be here in about 20 minutes. Let's finish up our drink and head over to the pier. So really, really, it's got to be user-friendly. People got to have confidence in it. I've been using the word fluidity a lot. We're going to listen to consumers. We're going to listen to our community. We're going to listen to our elected officials because we're going to start off 3 days a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night. And then I think we'd all agree in February, March, we may be running 7 days a week, okay? Running concurrently with that, we're looking at a service worker express that if we can find 100 workers, let's just say, that live on the mainland, that work on the island, and let's just say we tell them 7 o'clock every morning, the water ferry will leave the day dock in downtown Bradenton and take you out to point B. And then 6 o'clock every day, that same ferry will be there to take you back home. If the employee gets off work early, they can just jump on the regular system, okay? Boy, if we take 100 cars off the road, and the hospitality industry reminds me that February, March, they have trouble staffing because people don't want to go work out on the island, too much time to drive and cost of fuel, etc. So that's where we're at. We're hoping to invite you all on the ferry in the month of November. And maybe it's a blessing in disguise that we're starting to put passengers on the ferries maybe in the month of December when you don't have as many storms, etc. But we've gone through sea trials. It's been a learning lesson. If I ever have to do it again in my lifetime, I think it'll be a lot more efficient because I'll know a little bit more what I'm doing. But the fleet maintenance has given me a lot of support, project management, Chad and his team, and of course you all, Board of County Commissioners. A lot of it's being paid by the tourism tax proceeds, and then some of the improvements to the piers is coming from a beach concession commission that comes from the Manatee and the Coquina Beach as well. We will start off with the day dock in Bradenton to the city pier, the Moat Marine Education Center, nice amenity to have now. Then it'll go down to Bridge Street Pier. Obviously, you have all the shops and restaurants and then the public beach across the street. And then we'll add Coquina north or south, mainly for, I think, the residents will use that a little bit more. And then I've had informal conversations with the mayor, informal with the town manager, just truly informal to say, hey, where might it fit on Longboat Key? If you all want to do that, what Charles Metter just proposed could be a location. Mr. Chair, Mr. Childs would love that. The shore would love that. That's another option as well. And, maybe there's a day it goes down to City Island. That's another good stopping point. And then down the road, maybe to the airport where the Crosley Estate is, out to the Key. And then one of my dreams, I think Commissioner Satcher's dream, and I was at Fort Hamer last week. How cool would it be to have an express from Fort Hamer for the residents that live there and just shoot right out to the island for the day and back? So that's my update. It was a little bit long-winded. I'll just end at this. We all sit in a lot of public meetings. This one's pretty cool. There's so much respect in this room and great collaboration. I've been around the county for a while, and I tell you what, it's pretty special because there's usually more bickering amongst cities and counties and all that. And guess what? I'm just being real candid right now because I think I can, Mr. Chair, but there's no bickering. It's all positive, and everyone's working together. And I wish we could take this video and share it, with our community and all that, because you know what? That professionalism and camaraderie is powerful, so I urge you all to keep it going and things will get done. So I'm here to answer any questions.
So I just open up thanking you, Elliot. I mean, you really have been a strong advocate for this for many years before I was on this board. You eventually sold us on it. And then there have been some hiccups along the way, and there has been some slowdowns, but you've stayed positive, you've kept pushing, exactly what I think anybody would expect from Elliot. But he stayed true to that and has almost got us to the finish line.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
So, Elliot, as you said, we've been talking very informally about a location on Longboat Key, which would be great. And I think, to take it to the next step, I'm sure you know now what the criteria are for a landing spot. And if you could put something together for us to look at that sets out the parameters that we need to address to find a place where we can land on Longboat, that'll help us to identify the locations. We have some in mind, but knowing exactly what you need would be very helpful.
Yes, sir. And with the help of the county attorney, we have interlocal agreements that we can dust off and let's get the administrative work going. I was remiss. I've had informal discussions with the city of Sarasota, with Sarasota County. Hey, that's another huge step, hopefully in the very near future, because to have this as a regional, we all talk about being a regional, we all hold hands. That's one way of doing it. And we're excited to partner with Sarasota when they're ready to do that. So the ball will be in my court. We'll come up with some ideas for you.
Okay. All right. Any further questions on the water taxi? None. Just bobbing heads.
Thank you all.
You sold them. All right. Thank you, Elliot. You want to go around the room and just sort of have closing statements, commissioner comments as we wrap up here? Commissioner Satcher, you want to start? You're District 1. Seems appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just say, what a difference a couple of years makes. It's a different feeling in the room. And so enjoyed meeting Commissioner Murphy and seeing everyone here today. And I think we've got great things ahead. So working together on the water taxi, and glad we're getting a better water supply for you guys. So just a lot of great projects, and glad to be partners with you in helping and serving people. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Murphy.
One of the things that didn't make on the agenda, but I know Penny raised it, so I just want to ask where the appropriate place is to discuss this. As we've alluded to earlier, we're getting ready to get into that period of time when those of us that live in Longboat Key, very difficult time if we want to access through Cortez Beach over to Cortez Road and whatever. And I know some ideas have percolated as to how we can better manage the traffic as it exits the newly parking lots that you've just finished, because it's beautiful, and I'm sure it's going to attract a lot of people, which is great. But managing the traffic would be something that would be very appreciated by the Longboat Key residents. Thank you.
So I had spoke to Commissioner Gold about briefly that could we get, we had some plans essentially for where the jitney would run and changing the alignment there on Cortez Beach. If we could get that over to Tip and he can distribute it appropriately. And then I think we just encourage Administrator Bishop and Tip to have dialogue and see if they come up with anything with FDOT that would improve things there. So, but it's ultimately, it's a lot of people into a small space. The beach is very popular around here. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah. Commissioner Ballard.
It was a nice meeting. Thank you guys. I think it was really productive, and it was great getting to know some of the Longboat Key commissioners a little bit better.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Bishop.
Kevin, thank you, and thank you especially for all of the work you have done communicating with our mayor and the town manager, both when Tom was here and since Tip has come on board, because we truly feel that we have a collaborative partner. I can tell you that first year I came on the commission, some of the older, more dug-in commissioners were still there, but we have, I'm trying to be tactful, Mike, that's as close as I can get.
we know how you feel.
We have a commission now that works well together, and we are delighted to continue to work well with you all, and it's been delightful. I had not met Amanda before, and Mr. Turner I had not obviously met before because he's new, but it's great to see such a dedicated on-board group, so thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, this was great, just like the last one. It was great seeing some of you that I've met before and some of the new ones that I haven't met before, so thank you very much for
coming downtown to see us, and hopefully we act on some of the stuff we discussed today and keep moving our relationship forward.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Haycock.
So I think I was a beginning commissioner 4 years ago, and I think you're referring to the grumpy old men that were on the commission back.
That was the term I was thinking of.
People that came on board.
But it was, those first couple of meetings were very contentious, and I think someone said on your board, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Vanessa, said, well, you never asked for anything. And that really struck me that all these years we worked together and we never really made an ask for something in a way that we could sell and you would understand and you could help support. And so we've been making ask around helping us with the beaches, which is always on our strategic plan, figuring out mass transit for the island, which looks like we're getting close to, and then some sort of educational center on the north end after we shut down the Ringling Arts Group, and that's been on the table. So it feels really good that 3 of the, maybe 10, 15 strategic items that we've had on our list for 3 or 4 years are getting close to getting done with your cooperation and help. So
And the roundabout. Don't forget about the roundabout.
And the roundabout to come.
Yes, sir. All right, Commissioner Gould.
Just, I want to thank you first for the hospitality. This is a great meeting, and happy to see that we have a new administrator here, Mr. Bishop, and Tip. So we've got some new ideas and new energy and new blood, which I think will bode well for the future for us. And just want to let you know how excited I am about the projects, Whitney Plaza and the water taxi and the on-demand and all the changes with the, and I hope it doesn't get too confusing on the emergency service and everything you're doing there. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I used to know someone named Penny Gould, and I know you're Penny Gold, but it's very difficult to get out of that routine. Commissioner Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One, thank you for coming over the bridge and going through all the traffic. This has been a great meeting, and I love all the collaborations going back and forth between the county and the city of Longboat now, and maybe we'll be your favorite county going forward instead of Sarasota. And maybe the mayor can help us all get invited to the grand opening of the St. Regis. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, in advance for that. Thank you all.
If you come to the...
He's bringing you to a picnic on Veterans Day. How's that?
Then you get an invitation to the...
Under your $100 limit. Commissioner Turner.
Yeah, being near it was kind of exciting getting to see in detail the projects out on Longboat Key. I've lived in the area for 20 years. Longboat Key is important to us. I mean, it's a beautiful area. Congratulations on the St. Regis. I wasn't completely up to speed with that, but what a fantastic use of that land. So I enjoyed this.
Yes, sir. Commissioner?
Yeah, I was taking a look at the numbers for the amount of money that goes towards the children here for students, $400,000. I was thinking I might want to start having kids again. Like a pretty good deal to me. No, this has been great. It's my first year in the seat of the commissioners. I had 3 years with the Planning and Zoning Board, but the St. Regis sounds really good, and it is, but it will tell you it was a lot of work. It was a lot of cooperation. It was a lot of give and take, and a lot of balancing that had to be done. But the residents out there have their ways, and we were pretty set on trying to accommodate them, and we did, and we didn't make a lot of friends with that. But I think what it really shows is that what government can work with people can work with business, and businesses can work together. And I think with this group that I see around here and everyone I've met, I think government and government can work together, and I think that's a good thing.
Yes, sir. Well said. Commissioner Bearden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate each and every one of you coming downtown. Collaboration is how you get things done. And seeing y'all's vision and then the vision of this board, tells us that we're in a good place in this county. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen on Longboat Key in the next, 10, 20 years, as well as what's going to happen here in the county as well. So thank y'all so much for coming down.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Administrators?
Just thank you again for having us. Charlie and I've developed a strong relationship in a short period of time. I look forward to getting to know his team and working with them. And, our best days are ahead of us, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tip. Tip and I have already had lunch. We plan on having a few more. I appreciate Susan Phillips. She came up to me and introduced herself to myself and wants to meet my aide. It's also a great opportunity for me to introduce Andy Butterfield. He's our chief of staff. He, too, has already started a strong relationship with Tip, and we want to keep this communication going because we appreciate everything you do. So thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you. Didn't leave me a whole lot to say. I mean, everybody pretty much covered it all, but I'm really pleased with the way the relationship has developed and dramatically improved. And instead of sort of worrying about things from the past and coming, and no one really stated any issues today. We all came in and we just had positive things to say, and we're all looking towards the future instead of looking behind us. That's why God put eyes in the front of our eyes, right, or in front of our head. So I think it was a super positive meeting. I think we're all headed in the right direction. Mr. Mayor, I'll let you close us out.
Yeah, look, everything that is said, that is nice, that can be said, has been said, and I agree with all of it. So I'm just going to say, despite my charming demeanor, I'm a very goal-oriented person. So I am, and Tip knows this very well, because every time we sit down, I go down the list of this and this and this, and where is it, and what happened. So we're going to look to get some things done, and we've outlined what they are, and we're going to try to get them done as quickly as we can. And we appreciate all your help.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And thank you for the meeting.
We'll open this to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address either of these boards regarding anything on today's agenda?
They've been, yes. Is anyone coming forward? It's been all, everyone has them.
All right, seeing no one coming forward, we'll close public comment. Thank everyone for attending. Drive safely. We're adjourned.
Amanda, so nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm James Satcher, Manatee County Commissioner. I'm here at Gamble Creek Farms to recognize and celebrate the important relationships between our farmers, consumers, community leaders, and everyone in between. They ensure that we have a safe and abundant food supply. A nutritious and diverse food supply such as tomatoes, papayas, lettuce, beef cattle, it's all produced by our local farmers and ranchers, and that's one of our many blessings. Manatee County agriculture, natural resources, and food industries employ more than 55,000 individuals and annually contribute more than $3 billion to our local economy. Almost 30% of all jobs in Manatee County are in these vital industries that our community depends on. I want to encourage you to remember the farm-city relationships that have allowed us to create an outstanding quality of life for everyone here in beautiful Manatee County. Thank you, and God bless.
It's a beautiful day in Manatee County. Hello, I'm Kevin Van Ostenbridge, District 3 Commissioner and Chairman of your Board of County Commissioners. Having a clear vision for our thriving county can do way more than improve internal relations and increase public engagement. A clear vision can move and inspire taxpayers to overcome challenges and pursue collective aspirations. And that's the reason for this video, to give you an idea of where we're headed and provide you with an opportunity to give us valuable feedback on your own vision for Manatee County. Now let's get to work.
From supporting larger state transportation projects like the eventual replacement of the DeSoto Bridge with an elevated downtown bypass, a future 10-lane I-75, and 3 new bridges that will connect families to Anna Marie Island, Manatee County is committed to big-picture road enhancements. And while these state projects are important, they're only as good as the work we are doing on the county level. Projects like the Big Six and several featured road and intersection improvements will increase capacity and traffic flow on some of our busiest thoroughfares, while sidewalk improvements will enhance safety and accessibility for taxpayers all over Manatee County. We've said it before, and we'll say it again. Less time spent in traffic, more time spent with your family. Now that's a vision that can benefit everyone in Manatee County.
As far as conservation is concerned, we put our money where our heart is and dedicated $60 million to acquiring and preserving environmentally sensitive lands throughout your county and supporting those who live in them. This includes funding that benefits our pristine shorelines, wetlands, and oak hammocks, and protection for species like the scrub jay and gopher tortoise. Now let's not forget the species that protect us. We've successfully lobbied federal and state government and added a little money of our own for the bivalve restoration project. This groundbreaking restoration initiative will reintroduce millions of clams and oysters into local waterways to act as nature's own filtration system. Partnering with great local organizations and maximizing public access while preserving natural assets for our children's grandchildren is the path every Manatee County taxpayer should want to be on.
From birthday parties and home runs to touchdowns and smiles, Manatee County parks are where memories are made. That's why we're focusing on your quality of life by substantially improving and expanding your parks. The dedication is evident in the revitalization of the time-honored John Marble Park in District 2, the establishment of Ron DeSantis Park in District 4, the groundbreaking of the Parish Community Park in District 1, and the substantial expansion of this premier sports complex. Notably, our forthcoming vision, a Veterans Memorial Park in Veterans Village, will stand as a tribute to deep gratitude we hold for those who have sacrificed so much for our great country. Here's to more goals, more touchdowns, and more smiles right here in the premier place to live, work, and play.
From increasing the pay for those who keep us safe, to a new site for the Manatee County Sheriff's Office Aviation Unit, additional substations, and a new fleet facility, our commitment to your safety is unmatched. But there's more that we can do. We are working with the Manatee County Sheriff's Office and local businesses to illuminate underlit neighborhoods with Light Up Manatee, and leveraging AI traffic preemption technology with our own Public Works Department to dramatically improve EMS response times. From bolstering law enforcement, implementing advanced technology countywide, to fostering safer neighborhoods on a localized level, Manatee County and the Board of County Commissioners are committed to a vision that is focused on your well-being.
As our county continues to grow and evolve, the heart of our urban core holds immense potential for progress and prosperity. That's why we're prioritizing and expediting requests for affordable housing development and taking action to identify opportunities for enhancing neighborhoods and business districts. As part of this initiative, we're collaborating with the Manatee County Sheriff's Department, the City of Bradenton, and the Police Athletic League to provide support for improving the area around LECOM. This expansion will not only bring extra lit, publicly accessible ball diamonds and parking, but also significantly boost the local economy and transform the neighborhood by directly benefiting underprivileged youth in the area.
The Manatee County Utilities Department does way more than manage the distribution of clean drinking water. Reliable utilities can attract businesses and industries to our area, contributing to economic growth and job creation. Not only is Manatee County continuing to expand services for our taxpayers with the addition of 75 new lift stations over the next 5 years, but we're also looking to improve it. We're in the process of constructing Florida's largest low-pressure membrane filtration facility at our Lake Manatee water treatment plant, which will result in consistent water quality. And our spillway replacement project will ensure improved dam safety, enhanced flood management, and increased resilience for anything that Mother Nature throws our way.
Thank you for giving us the chance to provide you with a clear vision for our beautiful county. Please feel free to email any of the commissioners featured in this video by going to mymanatee.org/vision. From our award-winning beaches to the expansion of our convention center, it's with your support that we'll continue to make Manatee County the premier place to live, work, and play.
As a homeowner, you know the hassle of getting work done on your home and having to be present for an inspection that may end up happening a few days after the work is complete. That's why Manatee County Development Services is pleased to introduce ViewSpecs, a tool that provides virtual inspection services to contractors remotely with the use of a smartphone or tablet. With ViewSpecs, you can now have your inspection done live on the same day the job is complete. As a homeowner, this will save you from taking additional time off of work and the inconvenience of having to coordinate schedules between contractors and inspectors. Request that your contractor use ViewSpecs and save time and money on your next home improvement project.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome. Today is Tuesday, October 24th, 2023, and welcoming you to the opening of a regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County. We're going to start off today, this beautiful day in Manatee County, by honoring God and by honoring our great nation. So we have Pastor John P. Marlowe of Bradenton Gospel Tabernacle, who will lead us in prayer, after which the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by retired Colonel Lee DiPaolo, United States Air Force. Mr. DiPaolo has 26 years of service in the United States Air Force. He received Defense Superior Service Medal, Legion of Merit Medal, Bronze Star, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Air Medal, Aerial Achievement Medal, a Commendation Medal, and an Achievement Medal. Mr. DiPaolo is a United States Air Force veteran who, as I said, spent 26 years in the Air Force in 14 locations, multiple combat deployments to Afghanistan, Iraq, Haiti, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkey. He was a career Special Operations and Combat Rescue helicopter pilot with over 3,800 hours in an MH-60G, a Pavehawk, also in a Jolly Green Giant helicopter, which is an HH-3E. Mr. DiPaolo graduated from the United States Air Force Academy with a Bachelor's of Science and Management. He also holds a Master's of Strategic Studies degree from Air War College and a Master of Arts degree in Management from Webster University. Sir, it's an honor to have you with us. At this time, if you're able, please stand. Well, it turns out the pastor didn't make it. Commissioner Ballard, on the spot.
On the spot, here I am. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lord, thank you for bringing us here today. Help us to support this community, to lead this community, and to make decisions for the benefit of all in our community today. Protect us and help us to have a great and safe meeting. Amen.
Amen.
Good morning, everybody. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am, for the spur of the moment prayer. And sir, thank you for your service. At this time, will we please advance the colors?
Detail, halt, left, haste, present, halt, order, halt, right, haste, forward, halt.
Thank you, gentlemen. You may be seated. We're going to start off with any changes to today's agenda, which will be announced by County Administrator Mr. Bishop.
Yes, sir. Agenda updates are attached to the online agenda.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, would anyone like to request items be pulled from today's consent agenda? All right, hearing none. We'll move on then to awards, presentations, and proclamations. We'll start with presentations, and then we'll move on to proclamations. Human Resources HR Dashboard Demonstration is item number 1. Who is here from staff to present?
Chair, if you allow me to say a few words. Yeah, this is an idea that management came up with. We had a static display of our organizational chart. It was very cumbersome, was always outdated. This is something that we challenged our IT department, along with David Moorhead, one of our GIS analysts, gurus, to come up with a living, breathing document that's updated automatically with basically mechanisms that we already had in place. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jeff Pace, who can give you a demonstration.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Pace. I'm the GIS team lead. And thank you, Charlie, for that introduction. So as he said, this is a home-built dashboard that we brought together with the HR department to bring together data from one solution, FRS, to give some of our management team, directors, leadership, a little bit better view, interactively updated live into their organization so they could see what their teams look like. So as we built this dashboard, as you can see, it's all interactive. It lets you pop out any of these little items to see them in great detail, and it allows you to filter down into the department. And this application's in development, and we're hoping to grow it so we can filter down into the division level, and directors can really start seeing what their team is composed of. A lot of this grew out of a need for dynamic organizational charts. There's mapping capabilities where they wanted to see who is available nearby for public transportation if we have issues with the parking garage, and how we can address that with public transportation. A lot of questions about personnel were being asked that were not always easy to answer. So this dashboard is an attempt to bring some of that information into the hands of the leadership team to help them answer that. So if we click on some of these departments, you can see it'll update dynamically. You can see what your team looks like. You can see what your direct report, your senior leadership team looks like, who's in drop, who has so many years of service that they might be entering drop soon, so that you can start to see your turnover and do accurate succession planning, so that you can do that knowledge transfer, so that you don't lose hundreds of years of service and don't have those replacements up to speed by the time. We can look at our vacancies, our turnover ratios for separations. We can go into the details of each individual. We can start looking at the makeup of our team, the gender, whether they're veteran status, whether we have full-time or part-time employees, how many separations we've had over the past year, and what those separation reasons were. So if we start to look at some of the other teams, we can start to look at different reasons why people are separating from the county, or what kind of turnover we've had, how many new hires we have. The years worked or age versus their drop status. If we look at for example, my team, the information technology team, you can see we have a lot of years work that are in drop down here in this bottom dashboard. So we can see that Drew Richardson is going to have to plan for losing about 100 years of service in the next 3 years as these people exit drop, and bring new talent up in his leadership team to replace those years of service. So really this dashboard is simply an effort to bring this information out of one solution, out of HR, and we've had a wonderful cooperation with Ms. Barnett in HR to bring this data into a more usable format for the leadership team, so they can start to really get to understand, with the turnover we've had, they can understand the makeup of their team. I was speaking with Interim Director for Utilities this morning, and he's new to his position, so having a dashboard where he can come in and see the makeup of his team right away, look at the org chart in a dynamic sense. So if we hop over to Utilities here, we can look at the Utilities, and we can pop him open and start to drill down into his team, and he can immediately start to pull open some of his reports, and he can look at the makeup of the team in a dynamic sense. This was all done manually previously. So being able to have this updated nightly, to be able to interact with it, really gives a more powerful tool. So we just wanted to present this tool that we're developing in-house, show you in development. We're getting this into the hands of the directors. We're going to bring it, we've brought it down to the leadership team, and we really wanted to show you what kind of information the cooperation between our departments is making available to the teams.
Yeah, and Jeff, I'd like to commend you and your staff for doing this. We talked about how beneficial this would be for the storms. That way, if we need to know who has customer service in their job description, we can easily do a search. If we needed to see who had a special language or CDL license, you want to speak about that?
Absolutely. All the data that's in one solution, we're starting to bring down. So this was the initial development, and as Charlie mentioned, some of the data that we're bringing in is who has CDL licenses, who's getting those language incentives for being bilingual, who who has different education levels, whether they're a customer service identified representative. All that information will be right at the manager's fingertips.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No commissioners on the board at this time, so we'll thank you very much for that presentation. We're going to move on to proclamations. Before we all start bailing on the dais, let's entertain a verbal motion to approve proclamations.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ron, second by Commissioner Ballard. All in favor of approving proclamations, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, Madam Clerk, proclamations are approved unanimously by a vote of 7-0.
Yeah, he said it.
Oh, Satcher is there as well with his aye.
You can hear him.
Thank you, sir. I forgot about you there. But I
appreciate
included you in the
Mr. Chair.
7-0 because in my mind I knew you were here. All right, we'll go on to item number 2, starting with proclamations, which is adoption and presentation of proclamation designating November 4th, 2023 as the 25th anniversary Manatee County Stand Down. And Commissioner Cruz will present this item.
I need to talk to you after this. Good. I just brought everybody.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for the invite. Whereas Turning Points, in partnership with community, government, and veterans agencies, will host the 25th anniversary of the Manatee County Stand Down on Saturday, November 4th, 2023, at the county fairgrounds to provide and connect resources and services to veterans and non-veterans. And whereas Stand Down is a term in times of war, exhausted combat units requiring time to rest and recover were removed from the battlefields to a place of relative security and safety. And whereas this was the inspiration for a group of Vietnam veterans to hold the first Stand Down event in 1988 in San Diego, California. And whereas today, Stand Down also refers to community-based programs that assist veterans in providing access to amnesty court, human service agencies, employment assistance, medical screenings, including eye and dental, housing services, hot food, and other basic provisions. And whereas stand downs have been used as an effective tool in reaching out to veterans who are experiencing homelessness or are at risk of homelessness, nationally reaching more than 200,000 veterans and their family members. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida, that November 4th, 2023 shall be known, designated, and set aside as the 25th anniversary Manatee County Stand Down in Manatee County, Florida. Adopted with a quorum present and voting this 24th day of October 2023, signed by our chair, Kevin Van Ostenbridge, and attested by our clerk of the court, Angelina Colonesso. This is a great event. It's next Saturday, November 4th, as I said, out of the fairgrounds from 8 till noon. I go every year. There's a lot of stuff to do there. If you go when it first opens up, you'll get to hear the speeches and the music and the pledge. It's really a dynamic location. If you're a veteran or if you're not a veteran, you're just in need of services, it's a great opportunity to really not only reach out on a single day, but to understand the services that are available year-round here in Manatee County with the support of Turning Points and our other organizations. So thank you very much once again for putting this on for the 25th year, and I will turn it over to you.
Pretty much said all the right things, right? You touched all the high points, so thank you for that. Approximately 131,000 veterans are on the street considered homeless at any one given time right now. That's the approximation. It's our honor to be able to serve them here in Manatee County. And stand down, it truly is, imagine, it's a combat term, to stand down from combat, but when you're experiencing homelessness, it can be like being in combat every day. So this is a day for folks to come in and relax and for us to take care of them and hopefully connect them to some pretty amazing services that we already have throughout the county. And again, to reiterate, it's not just for veterans, it is for all of our neighbors in need. So we're so thankful. And we couldn't have done it for 25 years in our community without all of this incredible partnership and support of folks you see here, not only Manatee County government, the VA, the clerk Park of the Court, MCR Health, the Elks, the VFW. There's so many partners that come together to make this event possible, and we're just so honored to be able to do it for our community.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you all do for our veterans. Item number 3. Oh, I'm sorry. No, item number 4. You're right. Item number 4, we'll jump ahead, and we'll do both of Commissioner Cruz's items now, is adoption and presentation of proclamation designating November 9 through 18, 2023 as Farm City Week in Manatee County. Farm City.
Where are farmers?
Commissioner Cruz will represent the city.
Everyone? All right.
Bunch of girls today.
Hey. Next proclamation. Whereas in 2023, we celebrate the 68th annual Farm City Week celebration in Manatee County. Farm City Week is a celebration of agriculture and the contributions the industry has made to the local economy and to the health of all citizens through the food they eat. And whereas the purpose of Farm City Week is to educate the community about the diversity of agriculture production in Manatee County. And whereas Manatee County agriculture continues to be a major contributor to the local economy with a market value of approximately $360 million in products sold and more than 213,000 acres, or 37% of the land in Manatee County, is currently used in agriculture production. And whereas there are approximately 750 farms of diverse sizes and type of production calling Manatee County home. In 2023, Farm City Week theme is Innovations in Agriculture, bringing attention to the use of technology in agriculture production. And whereas the public is invited to join the celebration through the festivities held as part of Farm City Week. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida, that November 9th through the 18th, 2023, shall be known, designated, and set aside as Farm City Week in Manatee County, Florida. This is adopted with a quorum present and voting this 24th day of October, 2023, signed by our chair, Kevin Van Ostenbridge, and attested by our clerk of the court, Angelina Colonesso. And this is always fun. It's always the best Kiwanis meeting every week. That's how I remember it. It's always a packed house. We give out awards and we get free produce. And it's also the time I realize anyone who's gone through Leadership Manatee, Agriculture Day is everyone's absolute favorite time of that entire one. It always goes along with Farm City Week, so I'm always a little bit jealous of that year's leadership class. They're getting to go tour around our different farms and packing plants. So thank you all for everything you do for Manatee County, and I will turn this over to you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cruz. Good morning, Commissioners, County Administrator Mr. Bishop, and Mr. Clegg, County Attorney. My name is Patty Keene-Freed, and I am a seventh-generation Manatee County resident. I am currently the chair of the Farm City Week, and very proud to do it with my agriculture background. I have a passion for our community and keeping agriculture alive. As we said, this year's theme is Innovations in Agriculture. Farmers are always having to readapt and figure out new ways to keep up with the times. Currently, they are working with a lot of artificial intelligence to produce their product and to sell their product. And so that's some neat things that they're doing to continue on their adventures. Just to give you a little bit of lineup of what we've got going on for Farm City Week this year, November 4th, we will start out at the Braden Farmers Market. We'll have some FFA and 4-H students down there. They'll be selling some goat soap. They'll have some animals down there to interact with the public. November 9th is one of the fan favorites is our annual farm tour. Well, we'll have 2 chartered buses that will go from the extension office and at the fairgrounds over to Alan Jones's Green Bean Packing House. They'll go to Gulf Coast Ag Hay Production, Wish Farm Strawberry Farm, and Sweet Bay Nursery. Lunch, snacks, and drinks and everything are included. The ticket cost is $75. We still have some spots available if you're interested. We have an Eventbrite link for that. November 11th, we'll participate in the Veterans Parade, and we'll have some of our past agriculturists of the years riding with us in the parade. On November 13th, we'll have our Manatee River Soil and Water District speech contest. On November 14th, as Commissioner Cruz mentioned, we'll have our Kiwanis Luncheon, where we will announce our 2023 Outstanding Agriculturist of the Year. November 15th, also as Commissioner Cruz announced, was the Leadership Manatee Tour, which anybody that's been in the Leadership Manatee class, that is definitely one of their days that they enjoy, is the Ag Day. My dad is normally the host of the bus, so you learn a lot of different things on that, with him being a sixth-generation farmer. On November 15th and 16th this year, we're at the fairgrounds. We're going to do Ag Ventures on 2 days, split it up a little bit. We still will have over 1,000 third graders at the fairgrounds, learning about the different aspects of agriculture, such as making butter, learning about citrus, watersheds, rabbits, phosphate, and different aspects of agriculture, and learning that everything doesn't just come from Publix, that there's other aspects to get the butter and the milk to Publix. On November 17th, we will host our Historical Ag Hall of Fame luncheon, and we will induct Dr. Robert King as this year's recipient. Dr. King passed away in 2021, but we will honor him. And Dr. King, when he was younger, he worked at local dairy and local chicken and egg farms, and he farmed many commodities over his years. As Dr. King always said, he was an eye surgeon to be able to afford to be a farmer. On November 18th, we will wrap up our Farm City Week with our Beef Prospect Show and Workshop, where our beef exhibitors will do an educational workshop in the morning and then show their animals in the afternoon. So we look forward to seeing y'all. You're definitely invited to the Kiwanis Luncheon as usual, and also to the Historical Luncheon. You should have gotten an invitation to that. And enjoy your produce and your coffee mug for this year.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And as Commissioner Cruz says, I think this is really like everyone's sort of favorite time of the year, right? Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday of the year. Football, food, friends, can't beat that. But how the food gets to our tables, farmers, right? And it's an opportunity for farming is a thriving industry in Manatee County, and a lot of people never make it east of Lakewood Ranch, and so they have no idea what's going on out there. But y'all are working hard to feed not just Manatee County, but the whole country. So. Anyway, thank you. We appreciate you.
And Mr. Garrison, he has retired from our committee this year, but without him, we wouldn't have the little saying that never speak poorly of a farmer with your mouth full.
Excellent. We'll end it with that.
Yes,
yes ma'am. Okay, next we're going to go back to item number 3, which is adoption and presentation of proclamation designating November 2, 2023 as Ellen Mead Day in Manatee County. Commissioner Ron will be presenting. And whomever is here to receive this item, please come down.
Okay, we'll go ahead. It's always a great day in Manatee County when we can recognize an outstanding citizen that has given back to the county, and Mrs. Mead gave so much. Unfortunately, she passed away this year. For the chair's information, she was a 1970 grad of Manatee High School, and she was a cheerleader there also. In reading her bio, this proclamation doesn't really do it justice because she's done so much for this great county. But the proclamation today is for her, whereas Ellen Mead was born November 5th, 1952 in Bradenton, Florida. And as a young entrepreneur and a senior in high school, she founded the Ellen Mead Studios, the Performing Arts Academy, that successfully enriched the lives of thousands of students for 50 years. And whereas she won the National Roller Skating Championship at age 16 and graced the cover of the Skate magazine, followed by winning the Florida Roller Skate Queen and Roller Skate Queen of America. And whereas Ellen was crowned Miss Manatee and Miss Florida in 1973, including the talent recipient at the Miss America pageant. In 1974, she won the national title of Miss Dogpatch USA. Whereas she was presented with the Helping Women Thrive in 2005 Woman of Excellence Award for her humanitarian and philanthropic causes throughout the years. donated untold hours and thousands of dollars in local scholarships. Now there be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida, that November 2nd, 2023 shall be known and designated and set aside as Ellen Mead Day in Manatee County, Florida, adopted with a quorum present and voting the 24th day of October 2023, signed by our chair, Kevin Vine Osterbridge, and the clerk of court, Angelina Colonesso. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I'm glad we could do this on behalf of her family.
Yes, sir, me too. And as soon as you said Ellen Mead Studios, everybody knows Ellen Mead Studios. Yeah. So I'm so glad we did this. There's a gentleman behind you who may or may not want to speak, but would like to retrieve the...
Little Abner that she ran into at Dog Patch USA.
Well, I need you...
I heard some chuckles back here. It put us together, so.
I do need you to speak into the microphone, sir.
Sir, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, I'm still in disbelief that it happened, and I was so proud to be called Mr. Mead. My name is Thomas, last name. But when you move into a city and a community like Manatee County and Bradenton, where it's two generations, and I was proud to be called Mr. Mead. But I did run into her at Dog Patch USA back in 1974, and we had a very cherished and loving relationship for over 43 years. And I'm sorry I'm a little bit weak right now, but like I said, but God bless everyone here, and thank you so much for this proclamation. It means so much to the Mead and the Thomas family.